All right, and we are live. The Last Word with Lord Cognito and Ebontis. Fresh Friday evening campfire. And we got a little special guest, I think, going on. What's going on, E?
Yeah, well, it sounds like you slept in first off, so you were like rested and good to go. The vampire lifestyle actually not doing too shabby. But yeah, we got a guest, so I got to get her introduced. So strap in, everybody. Let's get this thing going. So welcome to The Last Word, episode 113. I'm so excited about our guest who is joining us tonight. Long time in the making, so let's jump right in. I'd like to introduce a lady who knows all about role-playing games, both digitally and in person. From couch co-op with friends to Twitch streaming on the side, she knows the people around you are crucial to your experiences, both gaming and life. This is a lady who really dove deep into video games when Destiny got its hooks in and hasn't looked back since. Introducing the manager, director, and driving force behind the scenes of the Planet Destiny website, someone who has more creativity in one hand than I may ever have in my entire life, a Renaissance woman who paints, sculpts, writes, narrates, and more, someone who holds Vault of Glass in a special place in her heart, and someone who braces all things witch. Everybody, let's welcome Moonvald to the podcast.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. That was extremely flattering, by the way. I was just sitting here like, oh.
Just like slowly working up the octaves of the reaction.
Yes.
That made me smile. Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
Yes.
Awesome.
Very
Great
much.
to have you. Great to have you. How you been? How you been? How's you been? How's Destiny been? What's going on?
I have been excellent. I am really enjoying Destiny this season. And I'm enjoying the summer months and just lounging around and being able to play out everything that the season has to offer. So
Nice.
yeah.
Nice. Speaking of which, E looks like there's been a lot to offer, but we'll get into that.
Nothing happened. Zero this week. No news at all. We definitely got some stuff to talk about, but I wanted to get started and ask you, as I was digging into a little bit of your background, you told me and got a couple nuggets. So I know I mentioned the point about you as a painter, but one specific thing came up from a couple different people, so I definitely have to address it. So when you paint, obviously you paint different things, but you actually paint objects. So I want you to kind of tell us the story of how you started painting the objects. I'll let you tell the story, but I want to know what's your favorite that you painted and also the biggest that you painted. And this will make sense in about 3 seconds when she tells you what they are.
The objects that I typically paint are animal skulls. I live in a state that has a pretty rich cattle ranching industry, and there's also a lot of sustenance hunting that happens up here. So you can go to a local thrift shop and you can find an animal skull pretty easily. And I thought, I came into the possession of a couple of bovine skulls like 6 years ago, and I thought, I need to paint these. And I haven't looked back since. It's something about them is just really inspiring and really fun to work with in that medium. So yeah.
Nice.
Very
What's
cool.
your do you have a favorite one that you've done specifically? Anything that's like on display in your house or?
Actually, the ones that are on display in my house are not painted, funnily enough.
Yep.
I think my favorite is yet to come. I'm working on a really special one right now.
Nice.
And I can already envision it. It's going to be awesome, but I've been hanging on to this ram skull for a long time, and
It doesn't tie any relation into the game, does it?
It doesn't, but it does kind of, in a way, like the other way around. If you want me to talk a little bit about this, I think I answered this in your questionnaire, but I originally got into Destiny 1 because I was watching a friend play it, and one of the very many things that interested me about the first title in the franchise was the armor. And he was playing on his Voidlock, and he had that ram on, and I was like, "Oh, that's sick!
Let's go!"
So I've always loved the aesthetic of a good animal skull. So.
Oh, that makes sense too.
Yeah.
The Ram was so classic, very iconic, exotic helmet, and then you got this animal skulls. I can see it. So let me ask you this though.
Yeah.
How are we feeling about the stag?
I don't like the stag as much. But
Really?
But I think with the right armor, with the right set, it can look really cool. I wish it had a bit more utility in the game as well. I'd probably use it a little bit more.
I feel you on that.
It's hard to get me to part with like my geomags if I'm doing a PvE activity or something like that.
This is real Warlock talk. I'm loving this. Continue moving.
Just confirming, character of choice. This is the Lob. Character of choice, class of choice. Are you a warlock at heart?
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
Making sure. Just wanted to clarify for everybody.
Boone, you are invited anytime in the campfire.
Yes.
That I have my sister with me. We good right now.
We gotta stick together, you know.
Don't mind these titans out here. You know,
and the hunters like to pick on us. It's all right. Call us nerds, shove us into the locker, that sort of thing.
Exactly. So, real quick question though. Just gotta back you up on the stag for a bit. Have you gotten the stag ornament though? The more ornate one. Have you seen that one?
I have, and that one is quite beautiful. It doesn't have like the same kind of earth and bone aesthetic that I'm really fond of with the stag.
Correct.
It's more kind of technological looking, but I think it kind of mixes that sort of fantasy sci-fi element of Destiny together really well. So I definitely appreciate the ornament for sure.
Sounds good. One more warlock question.
Yes.
All right, gun to your head now.
Oh.
Yes.
Which
wow, that's harsh.
Subclass.
Void all the way. Void was what my friend was when he got me into the game. It's what I started out playing because I was interested in it. And it's just been part of my identity as a guardian for the whole time I've been a guardian.
Are you a Nova Warper like Nim? Well, you had him on.
I am a
bomber.
am
Top of bomb tree.
It depends. I've been using Devour a lot more lately, but I used to stick a little bit more to
Slova.
So yeah.
Oh, okay.
I run the gamut of all three, and I like the other subclasses too a lot. They have a lot of utility. So
you said your geomags; those are always.
Yeah, geomags is nice.
You just sit there for days, just
so useful.
Kamehameha, just
that is one exotic I am not as fond of how they look. But gosh, they're just
function over fashion on that one.
So functional, right? Yeah.
So good. You almost can't play Middle Tree without it.
Why would you, right?
Yeah. It's so, I remember when it took me so long to get them. And I remember, I'm like, when I finally got it, because I had played without them so long, so I just became used to the super just ending so fast. That's just part of the super. And then I got it, I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Right.
So I can totally understand just how long it lasted. But I feel you on the Warlock stories. You got more questions, E? Because I got some stuff too.
Oh yeah. You got one. Go, man. Yeah.
Oh no, I was just gonna say one thing I also saw about your history was voice work. I wanted to know if you could talk about that a little bit. Just what part of that interests you and any maybe things that you've done.
Sure. Yeah, I can start kind of at the beginning, I guess. When I was in high school, I DJ'd FM radio for a local college station for a couple years. And that was always such a wonderful experience in my life. And it's actually also how I came to stream, because streaming, broadcasting kind of filled that void that was left when I was no longer DJing. And, obviously, if you're on the radio, you have a radio voice. And that was something that I kind of just fell into over the years. And more recently, a lot of people found me through this, and this is a project I am so grateful for, and I will never shut up about, because I still cannot believe I was part of it. But Bife last year released a video about Thorn and the Last Word, and I was fortunate enough to be a part of that project as the voice of Jaren Ward's ghost. And that was, that is like one of my crowning achievements in the community. It was so incredible.
I did not know that was you. I listened to that. That's so dope.
Yeah.
Wow, that was iconic. Like, shout out to Bife, who we've had by the campfire. That was an iconic series. And I believe you also used Brian Marcus art, which we also had at the Last Word. So it's
for the Last Word, actually, that video, the art in that video was Steven Siezik, I think is his name, the Russian comic artist. But Bife has utilized Brian Marcus's art a lot, and it's always so good. Such talented people in this community.
Absolutely.
That's kind of the thing. Like there's so many people in this community that are talented artists. You've got like the IRL Guardians, so many artists when you go to Guardian Con, and just like the amount of artwork that you want to take home and just like
Artist Alley
cover
at
my
Guardian
wall.
Con is lit
Oh, it's
Mm.
amazing.
every single year. It's always so good. And the cosplay that we see too come out of
Yes.
this community. Phenomenal.
Phenomenal.
Are you familiar with Aurum Effects? or-
Don't think so. No.
Eric Newgard? He makes a lot of the prop weapons for Bungie.
Oh wow.
Like he made last year, he made the Xenophage that was at
That thing was
Guardian Con. If
amazing.
you were there, he's also made some stuff for employees internally that they love to post about because they're so gorgeous. But he started out making Halo armor and also like early D1 stuff. And I remember in 2016, I got to go to an RTX convention. That's Rooster Teeth's convention. And he was there with, at the time, Impact Props. And he had like his full Master Chief, like, what is it called? Pepakura armor. I don't know if it was actually Pepakura, but it's something like that.
Milner, or forget the Milner armor.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay,
And
okay.
he also had an Ace of Spades and a
Wow.
last word that he had made himself completely, hadn't even been involved with Bungie yet. And it was just so cool to get to see him.
Mhm.
It was 3 years later, this last GCX, and just be like, I remember you. You were my favorite part of that RTX convention. He was like, whoa. He just like couldn't believe
That's
that
dope.
somebody knew him from back then. It was just really cool.
That's what's
Point
up.
is, I'm sorry for rambling so much, but like
that's
I love the
literally-
artists in this
We're just
community.
taking
Love it.
open. Yeah, we open it up. We gonna go off on tangents the entire time. So you are welcome
No,
to
you're
have.
good. You're good. You're in the right
This is
place.
this is your time. Yeah.
Yes. Get to be as
we
chatty as I
love
want.
tangents.
Um,
That is awesome. That is really cool.
But
That's
yeah.
what's up. So, E, what you got?
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you actually as well. So when it comes to like gaming, you game not just in the world of like Destiny and things of that nature. You do some real
Mhm.
life stuff. So kind of wanted to get a little tease of like how you got into just actually playing D&D and stuff like that as, a pretty consistent hobby and stuff. One of the reasons why sometimes we haven't been able to get you on because like, hey, it's D&D night. And we're like, hold on.
Yeah.
So it's like, I just want to get a little more detail of how it came into, and it sounds like your
Sure.
group of friends is like kind of how you got into Destiny as well. So it's like, you got a pretty cool group that you seem to hang around with.
Right. So D&D came a lot later for me than Destiny did. Actually, I started playing D&D. My first D&D campaign ever was when I took over Planet Destiny, and I was working from home, and I could kind of make my own schedule. So I've mostly played with people online too. I don't really play in real life a whole lot.
Okay.
But my group of friends was organizing a 5th edition module campaign, and they asked me to be part of it. And I've been sucked into several tabletop RPG situations since because I have no self-control. So, and I love creating and I love making characters and I love exploring narratives and stories with my friends. That's why I love Destiny too. It kind of all plays together that way. So
Nice. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Your Destiny history is pretty interesting because, you kind of came from a observer standpoint almost, right? And then kind of got
Yeah.
in. So it's like through a friend and stuff like that. And I thought it was very interesting to see, someone get into Destiny that way with kind of a light video game background, I would say. Am I correct for that?
No. It was I was never really a gamer growing up.
Yeah.
People have these rich, beautiful stories of like, I was in diapers and playing my fucking SNES and like just I
had that
I-
NES controller at the age of 5 and
literally. But I played. I had a Game Boy Advance. I played like Pokemon Emerald and then some other titles that don't bear remembering really. And then I, played a couple PC games that were very light and not super pithy, I guess you could say.
Okay.
But then I always, throughout high school, loved watching my friends play video games if I'd go and hang out at their house.
You're just live twitching. That's all you're doing.
Yeah,
just live Twitch.
This was
Live
before
Twitch.
Twitch. Back in my day.
She was number one in the comment section.
Backseat gamer at
good.
best right there.
Backseat gamer. That's
Literally.
what we doing.
And I have really fond memories of watching my friends play like Silent Hill 2
Wow. look at that.
and playing like all the Metal Gear games and just that sort of thing. So I've always been interested in, and I'm an artist, so I love visual storytelling, right? And I still felt like I got to experience it watching friends play, and I still do it sometimes. Like I watch a friend play Death Stranding, and that was very interesting.
Okay.
But Destiny was the one that got me. It was the one that I saw, and I was like, I want to do that. And D1 is the place I learned to use a controller.
Wow.
It's the place
Jumping in the deep end on that one.
Literally, it was the first time I'd ever played an FPS.
Wow,
despite
that's
kind
daunting, Moon.
yeah. And it, I spent a whole year between like House of Wolves and I guess kind of sort of, well, maybe not a whole year, but kind of House of Wolves to Taken King. I sort of just, all I wanted to do in D1 was drive around in my Sparrow and do patrols because, it's just this new beautiful thing that I've never experienced before, and getting to learn very slowly how to teach myself how to shoot your gun with the controller and stuff.
Keep that aim steady.
Literally. And I'm still terrible at it, but I'm better than I was, and that's enough for me.
That's awesome.
But,
let me
for
just to double down, just to back you up for a second. I don't want to gloss over that. That's actually pretty cool and a pretty huge thing. I know you got the art style thing and certain things. Like, can you remember a specific moment that captivated you and you're just like, wow?
Yeah, I can. I mean, when people ask me, well, what did you see your friend doing? That's a question I've had before. And he was driving around on Venus, again, in his Warlock armor, doing something in House of Wolves. And it was just, and I remember seeing Venus, this beautiful jungly planet with these ancient ruins sort of from the Vex and just moss covered. And something about that really spoke to me.
Nice.
And it continues to speak to me. And that's what I think I like about Destiny so much is the, I mentioned it already, but the fusion between sci-fi and fantasy.
Yes.
Star Wars and Lord of the Rings had a baby, right? It's what it looks like to me. And that's really cool to me because that's new. Because I'd never really been interested in hard sci-fi or hard fantasy before that really separately. But seeing the merging of it and the coming together of it was very interesting to me. Obviously. So
no, it's like I would love. Well, we're gonna get a tease of apparently at some point, but it's like I've the way like we can get the screenshots and stuff we can get now on PC. I want to see Venus on PC because I would sit and look out at that mountain with like the blue
the
lava
thunder,
flowing down,
lightning coming down, and the rain and just knowing that if you took your helmet off, your face would probably melt. So.
You're not wrong,
right?
You are definitely not wrong.
It's not right.
So
And for me, it's always those skyboxes. It's just
Bungie your skybox and your lighting engine. What? Who let them do that? Honestly,
it's amazing. It truly is. It all adds to it. You couple that, then you couple it with this great tight gun mechanics, gunplay, and then just again, which I feel never gets enough credit, is the music, So it's just this great fusion of all three of these things. And like you said, you actually made a great point because a lot of people, we always talk about guns, and rightfully so, right? The guns are amazing. But
that's what you grind for in the game.
Of course.
Yeah.
They don't get enough credit for the armor design. Just some of this ornate. Let's talk a little Warlock talk for a second.
End of D1 armor design still kicks the crap out of everything we've had for a while. That stuff is beautiful.
100% agree. 100%. I mean, y'all are the Iron Lords podcast, right?
He is, yeah.
It's makes sense.
Yeah.
But there are some exotics that I want to come back just for the way they look.
Whew.
And it's not all armor either. Like, even if you just want to talk about guns in their own design too. Like,
we could do that. Which ones you want?
No Land Beyond for me is like
vintage.
pinnacle apex, just this old ancient like anti-tank gun.
Yeah, basically.
It's
just bam.
So cool.
Amazing.
So it's rustic, but again, that having it be sort of austere and rustic in this high sci-fi setting is it just slaps. It slaps so hard.
What was the shotgun, the reloading shotgun of its own?
Invective.
Yes, I was like the Just the
Mhm.
slight
The
under,
orange.
the orange lava effect or like
Yes.
fire effect underneath. It was not
that was
too
a
much, but
Korra's
just
gun.
subtle.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Which makes it cool too, right?
Yeah, the
Oh,
black
yeah.
on orange
Oh,
is
yeah.
always good.
Oh yeah, that was
Bad
classic.
Juju. I mean, we get Bad Juju back. Super
Yeah,
awesome.
Bad
We got
Juju's always
Helm
been
of
cool.
Saint 14 back, and we got the
Classic.
character attached to it.
Yeah.
Which is still, that's one of the best looking guns in the game, or helmets in the
Absolutely.
game for sure.
Absolutely.
Titan's got some things right.
Nah, y'all good. Y'all good. You got Saint 14 is iconic. I
Yeah.
remember seeing that, and I was just like, wow, that is a cool helmet.
Right.
You know what helmet? Real quick, just side note, what helmet doesn't get enough love as a Titan? I was always jealous of Eternal Warrior, but I don't feel like Titans
Xur
like
is
it.
selling it, and no, we
I
don't
know.
like it.
People love
What?
to meme on that helmet
Yeah,
because
it's-
if you don't have the right armor to match it,
It
and you
looks ridiculous.
also don't put the right shader on it, it's just kind of scary. Like it's
I
just a
know.
little bit horrifying.
I
But
like it.
I agree, it can look really good and it can have a lot of purpose. I feel the same way about they're the Promethean spurs, and
Mhm.
people are like, ugh, weird toe
Oh.
shoes. But like the reason they're like that is because you're like a Grecian
Mhm.
foot racer. Like
Mhm.
that's why they are like I don't know the exact. I'm not really
Mhm.
into that mythology as much, Greek mythology, but
Mhm.
like it's an Athenian like sort of carry
Mhm.
the torch, run on bare feet, you know, that
Yes.
sort of aesthetic, and that's why they have their toes out basically,
I
and
love
that's
it.
why I like it. I think it's cool.
I think it's cool too. I just wish it had better functionality.
That's true.
Other than that, its functional was
Right.
terrible. But
Yeah.
the way it
Yeah.
looks, I'm like, damn, I want to use it, but
Mhm.
why?
Yeah.
What situation?
Well, that
could I
was kind
use
of like my finisher bomb thingy. That it was
Mhm.
like the same season. I think that one came out for the Titans.
Mhm.
Not a fan
Mhm.
of that one either. So
Yeah.
there's
Yeah,
there's
your
plenty.
what were the Bombardiers?
No, Bombardiers is that's the Hunter Dodge. That one's actually like I could see a little fun in that, the dodge bomb.
Mhm.
But no, it's the
Yeah.
it's like the finisher explosion or something like that the Titans have. I'm not a huge
Oh,
fan
the
of it.
Titans have.
Yeah.
Oh,
Top.
Yeah, what
Tell me
is
the name
it?
off top.
Somebody will fill us in chat
Somebody in
since
the
I
chat.
can't
Chat,
Google
tell
it
us.
Help
right
us
now.
out. Help us out, chat.
This is why
Somebody's
we have
gotta know.
chat. This is why we have
Yeah,
chat.
definitely.
So.
Mhm.
Protocol, maybe. Yeah, I'd have to look it up. Well, joys of Google. Here we go.
just now we just got to know.
Crystal,
Yeah, I was
you
like, I
should
gotta
know.
figure out.
Wait, Crystal said emergent protocol.
What is it?
Emergent protocol.
protocol.
That sounds probable, actually.
Mhm.
I'm not a fan.
I
I
don't
probably
know anything
deleted
about
it
Titan
actually, so I'd
exotics
probably have
anymore.
to go dig in collections or something. So
All right, no wait. Crystal says no wait. Come on, Crystal. You're supposed to know this.
yeah, what's up, man?
You're
Exotic,
encyclopedia of
armor.
knowledge.
Titan. I'm gonna beat you. Nope.
Are you a Titan
Severance. Me, Ebontis? Yes, I am.
name? Yes. Okay.
Mhm.
Severance
reason I
and
thought you were
closure. That's the
100.
one I'm thinking of.
You thought he was 100? I thought he was 100.
Okay. Severance.
What?
Interesting.
Been doing 113 episodes. I'm glad they didn't pick up any of those claps right there. It was all muted.
You know, that's an
God.
inside joke. You know what I'm talking about.
No, it says arc, solar, and void melee final blows unleash a damaging explosion. Finishers and final blows against more powerful targets increase the damaging explosion. So you have to be in melee range to get a pop. So
Okay.
Gotcha. That's
Yeah.
not a hard thing to do if you're a Titan.
no, we do run around and punch a lot of stuff. I am the right class because even in PvP, if I had my like melee statistics, they would probably be much higher than they should be because I probably crutch on the punching probably more than I should. So
I
Well,
played a Titan all throughout vanilla D1.
Ooh.
Actually, I don't know why.
Mhm.
Again, it was a departure from the warlock
Sound
life
disgusting.
that I live, but
you,
it
sound
was
you sound disgusted. You sound like
Yeah.
this is a
It's
problem.
not that bad.
no,
Holy
it's
hell,
not
did
at
you?
all. It was very different for me, and I really enjoyed it. I would definitely like to get back to playing my other classes again for sure.
Yeah,
I
fair
just haven't really had the time to do more than one lately. So
enough. Yeah, same.
yeah.
Well, final question from me. As you mentioned, Planet Destiny, and some may or may not know because it's a pretty historic website in the Destiny community. How did you kind of get into taking that over, and what is your? I mean, you're basically running the ship, but just kind of getting your thoughts on just like how that's been for you, how you got into it, and just kind of what you do there, so everybody knows to come check you out over there as well.
Mhm.
Sure. So I started off with Planet Destiny as a podcast host because Nem Plays actually got me into the team. And I did that for a while and, into the beginning of D1. And Curse of Osiris was a little bit rocky for everyone. I enjoyed it personally. I feel like I'm the only person
We
alive
started our
who
podcast during that one, so
Okay.
we're
Well,
the dumb
thank
ones
you.
too. Yeah,
Finally,
we're
somebody
good.
who understands. I enjoyed that content. Anyway, regardless, that was around the time the former runner for Planet Destiny departed because he had another job opportunity. So we were left. It was very sudden too, and we were left with this kind of vacuum of organization and stuff that should have been happening and all this stuff. So I managed to get into contact with the network that owns Planet Destiny and say, hey, do you want somebody else on this project? And they said yes. So here I am.
You took your shot and bam.
Yeah.
Got it. Nice. That's very cool.
Like, I'd like to run the show. Okay. I thought that was going to be a lot harder. Now what do I do?
Well, I know if you're familiar with the Black Link TBL, he could have taken over. He didn't want to at all.
Wow, he didn't want
that. No, I just felt like I had the right skills and right, I guess, outlook for it. So I felt confident enough in that to kind of pursue it. And I managed to get that position. And yeah, like I said, here I am. So
nice. That's cool. Yeah, good team over there. Like I said, like Lane,
I love my team.
Yeah, good squad. And it was good to see, like I said, guys still continue that legacy and tradition. And I mean, it's still the iconic fact. Right. It's still so much history. I mean, for me, as a, getting there, Wilby Hood, what's going on? What are you doing in here? This is a Destiny podcast. Yes. Salute, brother. That's Wilby is cool dude, man. Good people. So it's like, the thing about it was just like, I remember it's always been a staple for me, always seeing what's going on over there as far as the content and stuff. So that's really cool that you took the reins and leading this thing on,
Right. And I'm always down to let it change and evolve and, give people an opportunity to hang out and have fun with it because it's more for the community than it is ever for me. I work behind the scenes and try to help people out if they need it and give people a place where they can have camaraderie and help if they need it and resources if they need it. So I am truly, I feel honored to still be able to do this as my job, and I deeply appreciate my entire team for sure.
Salute
That's
to the
awesome.
team.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yes. Anything I got? E?
Do it? No, I'm good. You got anything else?
I think that was good in reference to that. She definitely answered one of my important questions was what's her class? So we got
that's all he needs to know. Are you warlock?
I want to know what subclass are you then if you're a warlock?
Oh, all right. No one's ever asked me this.
Called out, yeah.
That's important.
I like
Flip
this.
Because that's like the flavor, right?
Yeah. Now for me, I'm different because for D1, went straight to warlock, but I did fall in love with Sunsinger at first.
Sunsinger's good. Sunsinger is really cool.
I did. It was the grenades and the and then obviously the super. We knew what that was. I was like, wow, you can die and come back.
You're just like this necromantic fire mage, and it's it's so cool.
So I literally
cheating. What?
Fix yourself.
I didn't say anything. Sorry, I had to clear my throat there. I apologize. Yeah.
Okay, talk to me when shoulder charge tracking is a little bit.
It sucks. Are you kidding me? It's not that great right now.
Does it? I beg to differ.
It's worse than it was. I will tell you that. It is definitely worse than it was. It took a hit.
Listen,
it is not its glory.
I'm sorry. I just don't have a lot of, as a warlock who uses blink, I don't have a lot of vertical mobility, so I struggle with shoulder charge titans a lot of the time.
What was the little 3-shot melee that I can't, the void one that like broke the game for a while for you guys?
Controverse? Or not Controverse, Controverse helped it. Handheld Supernova.
Handheld Supernova. Yeah, you guys can kiss my butt with that one. So anyway.
I never used it because I'm not attunement efficient, so
exactly. Let them know.
That was like, oh.
Yeah.
So yeah, like
Nem
for me,
abuse that though. Sorry,
Nem definitely used it. Nem's definitely. There's no doubt.
Nem's a little dangerous with pretty much anything void warlock.
No, for me, it was just the Sunsinger, and then I'll be honest, like I kind of was fronting on void. Like I just didn't play. I was so infatuated, and I'll never forget when I finally did. This subclass is superior. Like it's just better. Like it just took me a while. 'Cause I think I was so caught up with the aesthetic of being a solar warlock. Then when I got down with the Void Locks, that Devour and getting your energy back, I'm like, this is a sustainable, high purpose class. Once you
It's
master
good.
it, and then Blink was over there, and I'm like, oh,
The neutral game on Warlocks, I think, is
yeah.
really, really awesome.
Grenades, long range melee, and for
Mhm.
me, I just remember
Void
staring
Locks,
at, I bought Destiny, I'm staring at the title screen, and I'm looking at all three classes, and it was something about the character holding the space magic.
Yeah.
That
I mean,
just-
you don't have to tell me. I completely relate.
Mhm. That was
Big
just
mood,
true.
right?
I mean, because typically I would probably be a Titan in most games. 'Cause I do like the Titan. They, both
Mhm.
run around. Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But it was the little thing. I'm like, he's special.
Yeah.
And
I
that's why I went
big
Warlock.
agree.
He's got a
For
little
sure.
little something extra.
Yes. Got a little Moon got my history in there. Good. I'm happy.
Heck yeah.
Thanks, Moon.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. Nothing else happened this week related to Destiny. So
That's
we
it,
are,
podcast.
it was just Moon interview. It's been a great. No, I'm just kidding.
Great.
In case anybody's living under a rock, we are in the world of online E3s now, and Xbox felt like trying to do their second one, and we got a little distracted. I think both Cognito and I did when the Destiny stuff came on in the middle of it. Be like, oh, that game's cool. Oh, this one's Destiny. Hello.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I was slightly
that's
distracted.
relevant to my interests. Big
Yeah,
time.
I was like, okay, eyes are glued to the screen, and it was straight up a trailer about Stasis. So before we cover anything else Xbox related, we got a deep dive on Xbox, or on, sorry, got a deep dive on the Stasis powers. We got about a minute's worth of gameplay related to what they look like, kind of some of the supers in action. Very, very, very functional grenade from the hunters. I'm very curious how that's going to break the game. But all in all, I just wanted to get your guys' thoughts on just the trailer first from when you guys saw it, the like tease that happened in between, and just kind of your thoughts on everything so far. So, Moon, you are our honored guest, so you get to go first. What'd you take out of that Stasis trailer, just kind of from the top?
Ice powers are dope. I am just really excited for, like, you're talking about the aesthetics of a subclass, and damn, that is so cool. Literally, hey, see what I did there? No, but I just
like that.
God, completely unintentional. But I just, getting to utilize a new energy type and seeing what the potential is for that, I think is really, really exciting for me. And also if we'll see some weapons kind of play into that as well. I'm very excited to see. Another thing that I'm always really looking forward to is new destinations. Getting to go to Europa, getting to see a new enemy too is going to be very interesting. It feels like that Forsaken, like that Taken King sort of promise again, if you know what I mean. It's
The big moment.
yeah. So excited.
Yes.
Very much so.
Very much.
So. Yeah, it was for me, it was definitely a surprise. I think at first I was taken back because I guess in my mind I had some vision of what the darkness powers are supposed to be.
Yeah.
So then when I saw it, I'm like, oh, this is ice. Like, okay, some freezing stuff. Looked very cool. I got a chance to only watch it like once or twice, so I'm definitely gonna need you, E, to really break things down. I know you broke that bad boy down frame by frame. You about to get in.
Way too long, way too much discussion
love it.
over
What you
single
do.
frames at a time. Yeah,
I love it.
You
I
and
talk too
Fallout
much.
and people like the community analysts that make content out of what they pick apart. Hats off to you, because I have the attention span of a goldfish. So stuff
My
like that.
videos are not for you. You need the Stasis trailer in less than 60 seconds is what you need.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But also, I do like to look at things for a long time. I pick things apart visually. I think informationally, I'm just kind of like, oh, I have to listen to this 18 times before I understand what's going on. So.
No doubt. Yeah, it looks so cool. We got the trailer. I'm assuming that was a stranger, I believe, talking during most of it. And
I know for the opening for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, for the opening. And I'm excited. I think we got a little snippet, if I recall, was it Deepstone Crypt?
There was a shot or two in the Deepstone Crypt, correct? At least if it matches the
That's
art
another
style
thing.
from Beyond Light from the
That's
actual
another thing I'm
website. Yes.
super excited
Yeah.
for. Lore-wise, the Deepstone Crypt is one
Deepstone.
of the most interesting concepts in the game.
Talk about
Just-
it, Moon.
You talk about it, but like
Talk about it.
this is the source of the Exos, some of the Exos sentience,
Yes,
right?
Yes.
How neat is that? How like just cosmically, metaphysically interesting is that to bring down into a story that's, told through a video game?
Absolutely.
Just,
I am so intrigued. I'm so glad you said that, because for me, again, we talked about subclasses and all this stuff, but another cool thing about Destiny, again, booting it up for the first time, was human, awoken, and exo. And I was like, now I went awoken, but I was like, exo, this is interesting. Like, how do they have sentience? How do they have, and as you play Destiny, you learn more, and, you Cade, and, we have so many prominent exos, in the game. And I just think it's so cool that they've added that, and to learn the source, the history. Right. And for me specifically, doing the Ace of Spades quest, hearing Cade's history, talking about Enceladus, talking about all these things, like these horrible things that happen, like how were they created? What was the whole process behind how they were created and what happened? So look, I'm excited. There's a lot of lore. The fact that's going to be the raid too, like, right? I'm super excited.
To dive into that in game is going to be so rewarding.
Boss in said, because typically they won't tell us who the raid boss is. They'll be like, "Hey, who's the story campaign boss?" That's going to be Aramis. We have the very obvious. Like, the raid bosses are usually a bit more unknown outside of Taken King, who we know obviously was Oryx for stage 2. I'm very curious to see who we fight, for one, in the raid, and two, like, how that all comes together for the Deepstone Crypt. Is there any weird, like, bad exos or taking over, anything strange going on in there? That'll be really interesting.
Oh, no. There's so much potential with this. And like I said, one thing we all know, September comes around, and expansion time is always such a huge addition to the game. They always not only
it's a little later this time.
Well, obviously, much later now, but in conjunction with something else we're gonna talk about. But console. But
that month is stupid.
Yeah, it is what it is. So, like I said, it's always an exciting time, and just to see what they're gonna add. But I give them credit. The last thing I'll say before I give it to you, I always am amazed, as much as we give the engine crap sometimes. Shout out to Tiger.
Oh no, we definitely have.
You have to give them credit when you see, I feel, mechanics and things continually added to this sandbox, right? Like, you get the game like, wow, an extra subclass. They added subclasses. They added this. They added finishers. They're added each expansion. They're just adding and adding. I'm just amazed that they're able to still pull these kind of things off.
Right.
And
I think that's truly what makes new expansions special. People talk about, Bungie's trying to reinvent the wheel too much. I agree. And I think if they did add more mechanical details like that, that would improve the game in a similar way that's not as jarring to a lot of players.
Absolutely.
At least that's what I understand too from talking to people and receiving feedback from a variety of different Guardians.
Well, like some of the best ones have been Taken King and then Forsaken. Forsaken was huge, obviously, because we got a whole new set of subclass powers. And Taken King, we also did as well. So we've had these times where, like, we can have a whole lot of content, we can have different weapons, but when the way you play your character changes, that's the ones that tend to, like, sink in as some of the best, because it feels so fresh, typically.
Absolutely.
And another thing about the new expansion, Drifter, Eris, and the Stranger as a fire team. How cool is that going to be? It is. I made a tweet about this a while ago, but they're especially Drifter and Eris, they're the outcasts. They're the ones that have been on the fringes of everything. They're not, because we started off with the Vanguard in this centralized little contained bubble of what it means to be a Guardian, and now that's expanding outwards, and I think that is super cool. Super cool. Interesting. Very, very excited to see how that'll play out.
Strange bedfellows.
Exactly.
I just love the way she talks to him in Prophecy Dungeon. Listen, rat. I'm like, why she's so mean.
She's right,
him.
and she should say it. I love the Drifter. Drifter's my favorite NPC for sure. But
he is, whoever's that voice. We got to find out who the voice actor is.
Todd Habercorn is the voice for the Drifter.
He's amazing. Like, I literally laugh out loud every time I go by the recaster. Like, he's a fool. He's hilarious.
The writing. The narrative team. I have so much love in my heart for the narrative team. I got to talk I've had the opportunity many times to talk with Jonathan Toe, who the Drifter is basically his character, and speak to him about this. And then this season, a couple of other people from the narrative team worked on the Drifter's voice lines. I unfortunately can't remember their names right off the top of my head, but they did such a good job. It is so fantastic. The interaction that happens between the characters is part of what brings Destiny to life, right?
So good. So good. I tell people all the time, shout out to Paul Tassi, who we've had on, and we with I remember we had a little tiff with the Devil's Ruin quest, and I said, no, you don't get it. It was all about that voice acting between Osiris, Saint, and Shax. And I said,
I love that quest for that.
Just for that, like I sat there, you put the controller down, and I just let them go at it.
200-second counter, and you're like, am I done?
He's like, just go about. He said, free to go about the Universe Guard. And those two are going to be at it all night. And I'm like, oh, this is great. It was so cool to hear the Titans just go at it.
Are you just going to give them weapons?
Yeah. It's like, Saint, what if the Crucible? What have you done with it?
yeah. And Osiris and Saint. Saint is also Jonathan Toe's. A lot of his writing is in Saint and Shax as well, and getting those characters' interactions too. Wonderful. It's again it really paints a picture, and individually they're all fantastic NPCs that portray an archetype in a way that you wouldn't expect. They tell a story. They're emblematic of the Guardians themselves and the way that there are certain subclasses and classes, and it's just it's all so good.
So good. So
Chef
good,
kiss.
so good. Chef kiss for sure. So let me ask you. So got the big reveal happens, on the Xbox stage. We'll get into the other part later, but I gotta ask you. I know you done broke this thing down 1,000 times. So I'm leaning on you for your great knowledge. What did I miss? What did you pick up? What did you get from this?
2 words, Hulk smash? No, I'm just kidding. That is actually, because we saw the little tease of like what looks like ice hands before. I'm like, what are you doing with those? And it's just this little, he pulls out the ice hands, smashes into the ground. It's like a wave of an ice earthquake that travels out in front of the Titan. And I was like, oh, we actually get to see it in action. We actually get to see all 3 supers in action. So you do have your Hulk hands. I don't know if it's just a one-time wave effect or if we're going to have multiple types of supers. Not entirely sure how the whole skill tree is going to work for them yet. For the hunters, we get to see their pickaxes or the ice axes actually thrown. It looks like a similar whipping animation like the Blade Barrage, where they kind of jump up and spin, but you see them actually throwing it at a kind of new enemy race, like new mini Scourge boss, like the mini mechanical guys are walking around out there. So I wonder what's actually piloting those. And then we get to see the Warlock with the Lord of the Rings staff out there.
Yeah, what is that? I was like, yo.
It's like Stasis warp blasting or something like that. And then he's also got like some shots that he shoots out of it. So we definitely got to see all 3 powers, which is very cool. And again, I'm wondering, is this like one tree? Is this going to be like a variation of others? Are there going to be 3 different options? I wonder how deep we get to see it for the first time. I think the most intriguing part, though, and I think everybody's wondering how much it's going to break the game, the Hunter's ice wall / shelf warlock or grenade. And you get to see them in what looks to be an encounter, and he throws it at the wall and he builds a new platform. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
I can only imagine the number of people that are going to get places they're not supposed to be, or as somebody else said on Twitter, the amount of like death barrier fields that Bungie is going to put around everything to make sure you don't do that. Because hunters are probably going to break the game, I think.
Fun stuff. Wow. Yeah, I did see. I was like, what is that? Like so many cool new abilities, and again, things that they're able to add to this engine and this sandbox is crazy. So salute to the team, man. I mean, they always come up with stuff. You have to give them credit of always kind of reinventing themselves and adding new things to to the game.
Well, the intriguing piece to think about as well is the fact that we've got stasis weapons coming. We have arc, solar, and void damage, which are going to have stasis shields on enemies, stasis weapons that fire. Are there going to be stasis effects to things? Because there's a grenade launcher that you see that almost has like a little like LCD display on the side that you get to see for a second as well. And I don't know if that actually has any effect to it at all, if it means anything. But I can't tell if the grenade's just like it's an arc grenade or if it's like a stasis grenade because it's hitting the little mini mechanical fallen enemy. And I can't tell if it's actually freezing damage or anything like that. So you've got the weapons that are going to be a whole different slew of weapons for this subclass or for this elemental type as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
There will be so much new stuff to just mess around with come November.
Nothing's better than that new expansion feel.
Woo!
When it's at its best, yeah.
Oh yeah. Exploring all the new stuff. Oh, it's great. It's great. I love this time. So we gonna talk about that announcement? Sir?
I was like, there's more.
Oh, my fault. Let me interrupt the breakdown.
I was like,
my
we're
fault.
not getting there yet.
Continue, sir. By all means. Educate us.
So we do see a couple things for the races that we're going to be facing. Obviously, Fallen is in there. We know Aramis is going to be. We get to see truly a Fallen catch, a couple ships, obviously the Fallen enemies. But then we also get to see what looks to be more subterranean or a very different section where it has almost the Pyramidian triangular entrance, and very much the Vex architecture is split throughout the trailer between you have a Fallen catch that you're inside of, the Fallen little, bays and domes and stuff, but then very much on the other side you have the Vex architecture split between this trailer. So we're getting both Fallen and Vex, and I was trying to think, I was like, there's not a lot of times those two actually are in the same place.
Interacted, right?
You don't really see those two facing off against each other.
Nessus, I guess, but narratively has
very rare, yeah. You're right.
So the fact that both of those actually seem to be tied into it, we know Aramis is bigger, but is Vex like a subtle background, or are they going to be a major force in this one?
That's a good point. And then we know so far from him that what he's like trying to obviously reunite the houses. They kind of battle, I'm assuming. Correct. And as far as like accepting the gift of the darkness, because let's be real, like they've been kind of banished from the Traveler historically.
Yeah, the Elixni.
Yeah.
Did not have a good time. I think that makes them, probably one of the more sympathetic alien races in the story. Is that their Traveler just left them and they just want their ball back. That's it. That's
it. So
can you blame them, right?
Exactly. Like it really makes sense. And I love this angle that they're taking, because that alien race would be very eager to be the recipient of something that they've been, the opposite of what was forsaking them. So, yeah, I'm excited about that. I'm dying to see where that goes. It's fun. This is fun.
I really hope narratively with all this stuff, the stuff I mentioned before and the stuff we're talking about now, that Bungie goes all the way with it and doesn't just kind of meet a compromise for simplicity or something on the story, because there's so many awesome threads to travel down here.
Absolutely. Sitting on a ton. You're going to continue.
I don't know. We also got a tease of what looks to be like a ice or stasis shrapnel tractor cannon looking thing. Towards the end, you have... Okay, first, back up. We'll get to that in a second. You can shatter enemies now when they're frozen. Looks like you can slide into them, punch them, ballistic slam. If they're frozen, they shatter. Which is like a whole different type of finishing situation, because finishers are the thing I never knew I wanted. And I can't tell you how many times I'm like, I'm out of ammo. Well, I can finish them. Sweet. Let me run up there and punch the crap out of them. Which has been very, very helpful. But it goes through and shows, like, one, you throw a grenade and it freezes. And I can't tell if it's an area of effect or if they freeze by proximity at one point. And then also you see just the Titan come flying in and just, like, shatter everything in front of them. So just the shattering effect seems to be very, very useful as Guardians to be able to actually take them out.
The wall that the hunters get.
We got to talk about that. That is, so the size of the wall, because it's on Widow's Court's the map, and it's when you're going from the cathedral, like towards like the dead middle lane up to where the heavy would be sitting up on the perch.
In the direction of B.
Yeah, towards the direction of B, and they throw the wall, and it's large. I mean, you could like run behind the thing, get up to A without even ever being seen. So the fact that that's going to change the landscape of PvP maps, you're like, I can't get anywhere. Hold on, let me build a giant wall. I don't know how long it's going to last, how much damage it's going to be able to take. But the fact, just the way you're going to be able to get around the map is going to be huge.
Letting hunters control space like that is a horrifying concept. Bungie, what are you doing?
That is terrifying. They're already hard enough to face in PvP. They can already jump right
over me. Yeah.
And then they're just going to do, and then land on your head, which is what they do. And then it looks like the Titan, the Hunter that throws the grenade also has either 1 or 2 that they throw. I don't know if it's double, but they literally freeze Guardian's place. I've been blinded. I've been poisoned. I've been slowed. I've never been frozen. Just completely shut down.
Yeah.
I'm kind of worried about that.
Yeah. My main concern is actually PvP.
Yeah.
I need to know how these things are going to affect me when dealing with hunters. Like, they have gotten substantially more scarier, and the mobility aspect already, they were a problem as far as very difficult to deal with. But
Especially
now,
people who play on MNK, oh my god, I play on controller still, but like,
same.
It's
Apparently
unreal.
that's a Warlock thing.
Easy.
I mean, no. It might be because we're less reliant on mobility. So I mean, it makes sense.
Shout out to our controller gang people. We're not going to take this slander from the MK group.
No, they can deal with it. I'm not pressed about it. Anyway, I am so sorry. I keep interrupting.
No, we're good. So I was kind of curious though, because I'm wondering how the subclasses are going to work, because you have the animation for the hunter that looks very much like the blade barrage, like spin whip blade barrage. And it looks the same for the axes. Now there's less of them that throw, even though they may hit harder. So do you think it's going to be like a stasis alternative for some of these subclasses, or do you think it's truly going to be its own tree, custom tree, anything like that? Because again, the Warlock looks like a Nova Warp, but in stasis form.
Right.
So I'm wondering how far they're just like kind of using some varied animations with different effects on them, or if it's completely its own thing. Because like that looks like a void wall in stasis. Like the scale, like what they use, looks like some of the stuff could be drawing from other subclasses. I'm wondering how it ties together.
Yeah. What do you think, Moon?
Yeah. No, all I can say is that I agree. I just think it would look really cool. I think it would be really functional too. So
yeah. Yeah, it's going to be interesting how it's implemented, right? Is it truly an extra diamond like a subclass, or
it should be? It should be.
Yeah,
I just think it's about time for that.
I would love it to be. I mean, and then if it's additive, if it's the case, then my question is, like, for example, when we got, we have our class ability and melee, do those change? Because one thing, I got to shout off some hunters right now. And this is Warlock showing some hunter love right now. I feel that hunters actually need something that helps the team as opposed to dodge.
Because hunters are really are a useful tool if you want to talk about your character like that for solo playing, solo engagements.
Just called you a tool, just saying.
I didn't want, it was just funny the way it flowed. Continue, though.
Oh, that's not what I meant. No,
it was totally taken out of context.
Aries laughing. Aries
hunters are tools.
Aries is laughing.
Guardians are tools. Guardian as a character is a tool. And that's what the hunter is good at, is mobility, is solo engagement, is sneaking around,
pulling everyone through invisibly,
being stealthy, and utilizing your mobility to gain advantage. So you're right; it will give the hunter a little bit more versatility.
That's all I want, because I feel for them in PvE. Warlocks, we got a little recovery well or empowerment well. Titans, you throw up the cool barricade, and hunter just rolls. I'll do it.
Like, and what a hunter is going to sit there and say is like, I'm the invisible person that saves your ass and reses you when you're dead.
Yes.
So it's like, that's what they do.
Salute to that. But I would just love for them to have an actually team helping. We know they're soloist by nature, but I would like for them to help the team sometimes with some type of it would be cool. They need that. I really do. Because shout out to last time expansion. I was so happy they got Blade Barrage, because I always felt,
I will say that was a nice balancer, yes.
Yeah, they needed an offensive, shutdown kind of super. I always felt for them.
And unfortunately, it went too far, and now they abuse it.
You hunted. Wait, Titans can't talk. Come on now.
No, I was gonna say, like, if you ever play Mayhem, hunters are the worst.
Okay, but what other context is Blade Barrage still that useful? It was really busted, but.
Come on.
Titans are
we all
OP,
know it's
but
the Spectre Blades now.
As soon as somebody else get anything remotely OP, they want to shut that down. But their whole subclass.
Yeah.
Look, we gotta start. We gotta start with them a little bit.
We're poking the hunters, and they're just just come to PvP. We'll see you there.
Oh no, they're beasts. Salute to them in PvP. They're beasts. Shout out to Aries in there. Shout out to the hunters. I see y'all. I just in PvE. I just want a little support love. That's all.
I will say I'm a pretty hunterly warlock, just for kind of the vibe. aesthetic.
The aesthetic is cool.
So I see you. I see you.
The hood, very cool. Yeah, everything,
Mhm.
you know, mobility. Digging it. Triple jumps. Better than our jumps.
Also, can I say we have snow tracks now? As they're walking through the snow, there's little tracks behind them in the opening of the video. I'm like, do we actually have like deforming ground? I know we've had like footprints, but I'm like, it's actually like moving the snow. I was like, could be cool. I'm wondering if there's any major changes that come in the fall, still technically fall, barely fall, because we're like in mid-November at that point when it comes to this next version of Destiny 2 that's coming to these next generation consoles, which we got confirmation 4K 60. And I'm just going to open this for the Xbox man of the group. Beyond Light on Game Pass.
Woo!
Oh,
Who did
see,
that for you?
this is why I'm so happy you're Mike Mewtwo sometimes, so I don't have to listen to the loud woo in my ears. It was perfectly muted for my sake. He wooed, but it looked like this.
Yeah, I didn't get it either.
Ray,
Nobody heard it.
I give it to you. Woo! Give it to you one more
Hey,
time.
there it is. Okay.
Here's the thing. Look, it surprised me. I'll be completely honest. You know, obviously watching the Xbox Game Showcase, it wasn't nothing I expected. I will say, I mean, at this show, I always said, you know, on Last Word, that the relationship between Phil Spencer and CEO Pete Parsons is super buddy. And as an Xbox guy, you know, I have Phil Spencer on my friend list. The man is 80% on Destiny all the time. Like, that is his favorite game. Yeah.
That's super cool.
The man loves Destiny. He's always been in since D1. So I knew the relationship was there. The issue came down to, you know, in what capacity would they work together, because we know Bungie still likes their independence, you know, especially since they've now, you know, breaking free from Activision and have creative control. But at the end of the day, this is a huge move, y'all. And the reason why is, you know, Game Pass, for all purposes, it's one of the best services in gaming as far as value, as far as everything you're getting.
Right.
Game wise, you know, I know people who were not interested in the Xbox ecosystem at all. They end up getting it. They end up getting Game Pass, and they're loving it. But I cannot believe I'm spending $10 or $15 a month, and I'm getting all of these games. Now, here's the key. Destiny as an online service game, which definitely thrives off a player count and population, this is going to be huge. 2 reasons. 1, finally, my console brethren, because I betrayed them for PC, because that 60 frames, Moon, whoo, that's 60 frames. Oh,
right, I'm right there with you.
He showed me the light, and I betrayed my clan, and I went over here. I
was like,
I'm still my part of the clan, but this is where I'm going to be.
Right.
So
I'll be over here in the penthouse. You hang out in the regular room.
Exactly. He showed me the light.
I'm sorry.
I'm having caviar now. I can't do peanut butter and jelly sandwiches anymore. Like this is what I'm doing.
Oh, those are extremes. My God, there's nothing in between.
So listen.
You just crapped on consoles, by the way. I just want to confirm.
Fozzie.
Cognito crapping on consoles. Hardcore.
Listen, he should have never did it. So my whole thing now, Moon, is like, okay, my console brothers are finally going to have NVMe, right? Which is huge for SSD, loading times, pulling up that Destiny menu, loading into the planet.
That is the biggest issue on console. And to get that situation figured out, there's no problem anymore.
Yeah, my brother's nephews, they have the original PS4, which sounds like it's going to take off with their playing like God of War anyway.
So I have the Taken King PS4 still, and it still runs somehow.
Yes.
I feel like it's probably
my brother
on
will
its
literally
last leg,
say, my nephews will boot up Destiny or go do something in Destiny, play something else while they wait.
Yeah.
Yes.
I sit on my phone and do shit on my phone until I am loaded somewhere.
Facts.
And that's it. I don't care about the frames even as much as I care about the loading times.
Yeah.
The loading was brutal. So it's like, shout out to Father, you under the clan. He's like, I'm hurt, you love me. But here's the thing. Like, again, I remember being on my phone having full conversations while flying into a planet. And when I came to PC, I'm like, oh, I can't do that anymore. Like, oh, the match started. Oh, damn. Like, I'm scrambling. Like, I'm used to going to the kitchen, bathroom.
No, you're in it now.
Yeah, like, I have to play quickly. So that's the first thing. The second thing is 60 frames per second.
Right.
Destiny is inherently a different game above 30 frames. Like playing 30.
You can't play 30 FPS on PC. Like if you had to turn your settings, you just can't do it.
If
you're in
now the question is FOV as well. That's the other thing.
And FOV, definitely. changes the game completely, like you said.
Absolutely.
But we don't
So I
know
if they're gonna
we
do-
don't know what consoles are going to do for that.
We don't know
That's
if
the
consoles
question.
are going to do FOV, so I'm not going to get too excited there. But the 60 frames alone prevents me from being in molasses because that's how it feels like over there, right?
Again,
so
you play a
got
Warlock,
that.
you get it.
Oh, 4K HDR, it's going to be glorious. So, and again, not only do you get Beyond Light, you get every expansion prior. Like, wow! Shout out to the cars going by. But it's really impressive that people who, you put it this way, you know how impressive it is. Shout out to Wilmy Hood, who was in the chat earlier. Right, he's one of my Xbox guys. Really cool. Actually, he plays on all consoles. He is very lukewarm with Destiny. Right, there's a lot of friends I know. They know how hardcore I am, and they're just not that into it. People are telling me, "Yo, Cog, I'm in, man. It's a game. I'm gonna try it. What? Like the value proposition is huge, 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 huge. So at the end of the day, I think it's a big move. Play count wise or population wise, and who's to say what happens with their relationship moving forward? But that's a big deal because the way Game Pass works, Bungie basically how it works is Microsoft says, hey, this is your perceived value or what we think you would make in sales if this was on our platform, right? It is up to them to accept that financial offer up front. So Bungie took the bag, y'all. Right?
Yeah.
Took that money up front so that it couldn't be, it's not exclusive to the platform, but in the sense that the majority of the game is going to be, majority of people are going to play it in that service as opposed to buying it on Xbox.
Right.
So that's the gamble they take. But then they look at it, Bungie looks at it from a player engagement standpoint. There's so many people now going to be in that ecosystem. Yeah. And once you lock in, you tend to buy stuff. You tend to be in Eververse. You tend to buy a season pass.
I mean, that's the same. Like, they get the expansion, but the season pass they're going to have to buy. So when it comes to them, if they try it and be like, oh, this is free. Oh, well, I want to play the next thing. Now you got to pay up, and that's where it goes in Bungie's pocket. Exactly. And that's where it's going to keep them invested both in Game Pass and giving money directly to Bungie. Yeah. So it's going to work well huge for value. Building the player base for sure.
Yeah, huge value. And for Xbox, I mean, it's right around the time the Series X is going to launch because Beyond Light comes out. Now, I'm very curious. I got to ask y'all this, though. I'm very curious that, remember we went from September to November, and we do know they said it was polished and stuff like that. It's very conveniently close to the Xbox Series X launch, E. You got to talk about this.
Put on your spinfoil hat and see.
I'm spinning.
I mean, people said the same thing about Cyberpunk, and CD Projekt Red said it's not that. So I don't honestly put those two together.
That's fair also.
I'm going to say no, they're not related.
Okay, fair enough.
If they had their choice, they would not be that close to Cyberpunk 77. If they have their druthers about it, I wouldn't be that close.
Oh, what other game is coming out around the same time too?
Valhalla, Legion, Watch Dogs Legion.
If there's a Call of Duty, it's usually November.
Oh, Halo.
Yeah. But after
like November,
Halo, we don't know.
The 30,
we don't know if they should be worried about that.
Halo might be later. Cyberpunk will probably get delayed, and then everything's going to be fine, actually. But
yeah. So, but Moon, what did you think? I mean, I don't know what console. I'm assuming, PlayStation 4 is what you primarily play, right? As on the console side. But what did you think of the announcement in general?
I mean, you guys have pretty much said everything that was on my mind about it. It's gonna be great for new players and to reach more people and be more accessible to a wider variety of people. And new Guardians, that's always such a special experience. So it makes me happy that we're gonna have new people in the community and people who are having that experience for the first time.
Exactly. And then we know crossplay will eventually come. Crossplay between system stays this year, right? My understanding. So Xbox, 1 to Xbox Series X and PlayStation 4 to 5.
If you're in platform family and PlayStation and Xbox Play, this looks bad.
That was classic. I won't meme you on that. You're good. That was classic.
Yeah,
though.
please don't quote that
starting parallels. Nothing to see here.
Yeah.
But we know the eventual goal for next year is to really do true crossplay. Between system and again, like you said, Moon, there's nothing more important for a franchise than that player base really being larger, and it just breathes life into the game. So yeah, it
does. And that's only going to be possible with the 60 FPS and blah blah blah. So hopefully it goes well, and I'm excited.
Yeah, absolutely. E, your thoughts?
Oh, just on all of this? I mean, it's just exciting to see. So we got confirmation of like 4K 60, which means that's like what the next generation of Destiny is going to look like on the new consoles, which is really cool. Just hearing about what my nephews go through for the loading times. If my brother can get a PS5 for them and they can just like enjoy faster loading times, they will actually hopefully play and get to enjoy it, which is huge. Shout out to my nephews, by the way. I literally was in the middle of probably my solo prophecy run. When I was actually talking to my nephew in Discord on his birthday, so it was actually kind of a cool thing. But
salute.
But yeah, it's just I'm really excited to, as you said, grow the player base is big because you have people get the chance to be like, hey, what's Beyond Light? It's part of Game Pass. Let me jump in. And they say for as long as it's on Game Pass. I don't think it's gonna go away probably for a while. I would imagine it'd be pretty stuck. So people will get Beyond Light, and that's usually what everybody wants to play. And they'll technically be able to level up as the seasons continue. They'll be like, well, what's the new stuff? And then they're going to hopefully venture out and see what's going on. I'm just hoping it continues to help Bungie grow. Because all we can see is, you and I have talked about this before, whether it be the Tiger engine or the bandwidth in what a season can handle, or how much can this expansion put out, and how much is the COVID put.
I would love to know more. About how married Destiny is as a game, as a thing that has to be designed and developed to the engine that it's made on.
Yes.
What would that look like if they moved, what is it, the Tiger engine?
Yeah.
If they moved off of it.
Like Unreal 5 or something.
That's something I'd love to learn more about from Bungie. I want to know about how things work, because that's, they get the producers and the designers to talk a lot about stuff and Vidocs and things, but tell me more about the mechanics. Tell me more about testing. Tell me more about engineering and stuff, because that's super interesting to me.
One cool thing that I don't say cool, but one thing we have kind of found out is, the unfortunate thing about the Tiger, and we love the engine for the other things that it does, is that, for the PvP community who really wants dedicated servers, it's the way their infrastructure is inherently built is tied to it. They have this unique mix, especially with the PvE and the way they do what you call instances and spaces, the way it is. So there's some things that us as gamers say, like, well, why can't they just this is so all they need to do?
There's so much more to it than anybody sees. And I'm friends with some people on the test teams, and I the things that they talk about and I get to hear about, it's just more than you ever would be able to imagine if you don't directly work on it, because
and the thing is, if they change Moon, do we get Destiny in the same fashion? Are they able to do these kind of updates to when an expansion drops out? So some things, I think that, like you said, there's so much we just don't know. And as gamers, we're all guilty of it. Why don't they, what's going on here and stuff? And there's probably so much complexity that like you said, I'm dying to be able to
just
talk
type in a couple lines of code. That'll fix your problem. I hate that argument. Yeah.
We out here backseat programming, armchair developing.
That's what it is. Backseat programming.
And no, everybody, 99% of the people say that, I have no idea what's going on, but I could totally fix your problem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Don't that damn bungo. They need to. But yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you, Moon. I would love to pick the brain of those behind that engine.
Oh man, everybody always jokes about the spaghetti code and how one thing breaks, and you see weird things, how even just the function of the game. And I kept seeing this in Wither Horde. You shoot the grenade out and then you switch over to Mountaintop and the damage goes up, so it's tied to your slot and not the projectile. I'm going, how the hell does all this, obviously the game is insanely complicated. We have no doubt about that. But you take something like Unreal 5 that's built, and you and I talked about this before too, is how the gun feel is so specific to Destiny. That's what makes the game what it is. And and I honestly, could they replicate that on a different...
replicate it,
right? And that's, it's unparalleled for me. It's the FPS game that I picked up a controller and went, I can probably figure this out. And that's for a reason. It's because the gunplay in Destiny and Destiny 2 is so good. And it's, honestly, a lot of that is because it's forgiving. So you go to games like...
Shout out to Amos.
Literally, you go to games like Apex and stuff, and you're just like, oh, I have carrots for hands, or like
Oh my
it's
God.
just impossible
I'm a
sometimes.
potato.
At least
I'm a
it's for me.
potato.
Yeah, yeah, but it's why it feels so good, and
Mm-hmm.
I think that's part of its appeal.
Yeah, I think so. And like you said, the question becomes if they go to maybe these better looking engines, so to speak, does it lose that feel? Does it lose that classic Bungie mechanics that we so like? The skyboxes are the same. So it's an interesting, proposition. And I know internally they had to have all these discussions before and stuff like that. Me and E have talked about eventually we feel it's going to have to be a D3 eventually
I
at
feel
some
like there
point.
has to be.
There has to be, but we got to see how iterative this engine, can go.
What do you think, Moon? Do you think there's a D3 sitting out there after Lightfall, or do you feel? What do you think?
Hard to say.
Mm-hmm.
D3
Do you have a
VR,
hope?
let's go. Let's no. I mean, of course I have a hope. If I could be around for this franchise for as long as possible, that's the ultimate goal. I of course want the games to continue to be good and entertaining and playable and enjoyable and, functional, but it's just impossible to say what comes next.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I will say this year, building into their plan of 3 years in the future, this year's had an off season, was, Shadowkeep versus Forsaken wasn't quite as big, but the story we've talked about before has been building into pyramid ships entering, and then they've setting up Savathun with stuff that we have right now, and that's sitting there at 2020. Who knows when that things might be a little farther away now, so dates could be wrong. 2021, and then
Right.
Lightfall, the quote moment that Luke said in 2022 is they've there's no question of like, hey, we don't know what story. No, this is the story, and they've got it planned finally for years, and we finally get to see how that all works. That's probably the most exciting, as you said. As long as the seasons aren't, we don't need more seasons of Unworthy and stuff of that nature. Hey, I'm stealing that from you.
Salute. Well played, sir.
I love the people that work on this game. I know many of them, but that season was not very pleasant for me at all. And again, I liked Curse of Osiris, so I don't know what that tells you.
I mean, Panopti. I actually really like Panoptes as an enemy. Panoptes is fantastic.
Cool. Love that fight. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So like, there
and
were certain
Osiris actually fought with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we had like NPC.
I wish we had a little bit more control over the damage in that fight, but otherwise, like it was cool and it was very cinematic.
Yes.
That's what I live for, really, in this game. So
yeah,
Agreed.
those moments have been kind of stellar, but yeah, it's like as we lead into what the fall holds for Beyond Light, seeing what the story does, the Deepstone Crypt. Somebody in chat mentioned like a Cade 7. Do you guys want Cade back or not? Just give me a yes or no.
I do not want Cade back.
Okay.
She was quick with it. She's
No,
like,
I know.
I am not a
I'm with
Cade
her.
fan.
I'm with her.
damn.
I have never been a Cade fan, and I'll tell you why.
Oh, mine's a
because
different reason.
Break
That's
this
actually
down,
funny.
Moon. This is slanderous.
I know this is a controversial opinion.
Yeah, spicy.
In game, Cade was never my favorite, especially in the beginning of D1, because I feel like they took him from this really complex figure in the lore, and a lot of his appearances it felt like used for advertising, and he just kind of felt more reductive to me in the state he was in the game. Like, he was good at making jokes. Cade was the funny guy, right? Like, but if you look at Cade's lore, we didn't get to explore a lot of that in depth, and we didn't, he felt really one note to me in game. And again, once again, I love the narrative team so much, so much, but that's a flaw that I saw. That is something I never vibed with as much. And I really do respect people that love Cade, because he is hunter. He is what it means to be a hunter for a lot of people. And that's really, really super cool to me. So, but just for me personally, Cade was never my vibe. So.
I respect it. Hunters, forgive her, but we respect it. We respect. Now, listen, I do get your point on this, though. I felt this is my analysis of him. I love the character. I do agree with you on one point, though. I felt that they didn't realize like how popular he was. He kind of got popular, and then I felt they kind of like used him like as a marketing tool. I agree with that part,
right? And
kind of just lumped him into just that, right? Like you said, and he's probably got so much more to him, but because shout out to Nathan Fillion, you know what I'm saying, that really did a good job. And I think what it is that he just became the comic relief at a point.
Right.
And he's much deeper than that. Oh, the hunters are upset. They're like, I hope she's kidding.
I'm sorry. Like, well, here's the thing. But I love Lord Cade. I love, you get to hear a little bit about who Cade was before he was an EXO. If we explored that in game, that would have been so cool. If we got to see more complex emotion and reaction and growth, I think, from Cade as a character, or just change, that would have compelled me so much more in game.
I feel
right.
I feel you.
And that's what I mean.
No, essentially. So and you're making some valid points, because again, I think I felt sadly to know more about him in his will than
in his
when
death.
he was actually around. And I was just like, so Sedfree said it's time for a Hunter Rebellion to rise. Oh, they upset. They upset with more.
Hunter Gang, rise up.
They like, rise up. She's blasphemous. But look, you gotta respect it. She's standing on it. And at the end of the day,
Fozzie has a point in your chat.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt
what Fozzie
you.
said.
But
What Fozzie say?
Fozzie says Cade 6 was a badass. He had a dark past. He was a killer. I think that's another reason, because a hunter is a cowboy archetype, right? You think of Cade 6, you think of the Wild West. That's why Forsaken had such Western vibes, but that's the Byronic hero. That's the sort of anti-hero kind of thing. And that's, I agree. And I wish we got to see more kind of complexity from Cade in that way in game.
Yeah, but to your point, E, I do agree with it. Like, I feel would I be upset? Yeah, I kind of would be upset if he came back, because part of me is it would defeat the finality of Forsaken. That's my point. It made Forsaken. So to me, you just undid. And then let's be real, that would be marketing lying, because they said he was dead. When people were like, oh yeah, he ain't dead. No, he's gone. So we like, okay, they really mean business here. So I would feel it would kind of be a cheap money grab in a way, like to bring him back.
Yeah, it's like they used him as a marketing
for the
tool
shock
once.
value of it.
You killed him. He needs to stay dead, because his death actually hit.
It hit.
You know whose resurrection's gonna be just such a turning point for the game is Aldrin. When we get to see Aldrin again,
still waiting on that one.
Something, when that happens in game, that is gonna be something else, and I'm excited for it, because
me too.
Aldrin's existence as a light bearer makes us as players ask so many questions. We have to confront a lot of things about this reality that Bungie's created with this story. Should this person be punished for who they were in a past life? Do they remember who they were? Do they know what they've done? Do they know the implications of what they've done? And it's no, obviously, that Aldrin has no memory of who he was. He could completely despise the person he was.
It's beautiful. That was one of their signature moments as a result of the Cade death. And I felt it was great story, because now we're dealing with the repercussions of that act. Of avenging, this the only thing I give Zavala, like, because of avenging this Cade, and then we kill, this guy. And now the light has chosen him. Yep. So it is such a cool twist. I'll never forget. You remember that day?
Zavala's going to be holding that Korra back. No, don't blow him up. Don't blow him up.
The Aldrin arc is so exciting to me. It's the story of redemption. You don't know what you did. It's a lot to it. And again, I just think it's cool. I would love for that whole thing to play out with the Hunter Vanguard. I just don't know when they're going to do it. But
I'm hoping that's really Savathun cool time.
Yeah, Savathun. Oh, I can't wait for Savathun. Yeah. But right now, I've heard that the narrative team again has a lot more runway for their story than they've had before in the past. Nice. And that's, getting to hear from them in any capacity. That's what they've been talking about lately, because they have this breadth to work with. And the way we just have to, be patient. I know it's hard to navigate sometimes when we don't get an immediate ending to a storyline, and it's hard not to be like, tell us what happens, Bungie. But being patient and waiting for that, and then finding out how that ends is,
we haven't had an ending to many storylines yet, so it would be nice to actually see some of these things get a little tied up with bows on the end of them, because there's a lot of just dangling out there.
Yeah, so they can start more.
Just exactly, keep it going. We'll close everything up now, and then we'll go forward. But I want to know everything. Everything.
Exactly.
Tell me all the stuff.
Exactly.
So yeah, obviously the big stuff this week. Stasis trailer.
Yeah.
Can't wait. That seems just like literal game-changing stuff happening there. We've got Xbox Game Pass. We'll hear about PlayStation at some point. I'm sure it's going to be similar. And then in the TWAB, they gave us a nice little deep dive coming up, which is stuff that I always love watching. So we got a developer deep dive coming up on the Destiny dungeon. It's about prophecy. So we're actually going to see one of the developer kind of deep dives that they've done before, breaking it down.
Who?
I have not seen who, actually. I keep being very curious because I don't know if it's going to be art or story, because the story related to that is really interesting because prophecy, and you've always got like the wasteland where you see all the 4 planets that are going away. I want to understand if they're going to explain like if there's, because literally the word prophecy, if the story is actually being told to us, if they're going to like, there's probably a lot they can't even tell. So I'm very curious what they go to in. Got to toot my horn a little bit here though.
Let's go. Talk about it.
I finished my solo flawless.
Woo!
Yes! I
Let's
was trying
go.
to do the first boss last night and just couldn't get past it. So
Nice.
kudos to you.
Salute to E.
So,
is
like,
so
honestly, like, when I
accomplishment.
started trying to solo flawless, I was doing the first boss. I was like, I'm never going to freaking get this. And I have died
remember.
many times in between to get there. So it was, when was it? I can't even remember the day. It was the previous week when I had, like, I got to the final boss for, like, solo practice, and I died on him for days. Literally, like, get on for a couple hours, work on it, die, working up for days. I was like, I finally got to the point where I finished it, and I was like, okay, finally killed him.
Right.
And then I was like, all right, let me start the next week. Went through, I was like, all right, so official solo, flawless, maybe attempt to probably practice. I got him down to a quarter health my first time I tried. The final boss to it, a quarter health, and died.
Oh.
Stupidest little thing, too. It was like, used mountaintop on a Scion. I was a little low. I put up a wall, and he just did the melee, like, through the wall with the reach. And those stupid Scions in there, why you have to even punch them twice in the first place? I don't know. I hate the Scions in those rooms. Can't
Because they're
stand it.
at power level with you.
Yes, they're brutal. So that sucked. Second time I went through, got all the way to the ribbons, and just, like, flubbed the Sparrow Drive. I was like,
Oh.
I walk in there.
oh, no.
I
Yeah,
just
I rescued
get
it.
off of
When
my
I did the
sparrow,
full
snipe
flawless
everything,
run,
and
I was
walk.
like, no, when I did the full flawless run, I was like, I don't care. I'm driving it. It's happening. I did.
Gangster.
Yeah.
fair.
So I drove
Salute.
it. So I
you are
had
more
to.
committed than I am to this. at
Salute. That's
current
Well, it's
dedication
like
time.
right
for
there.
me, occasionally I'm just like, I feel like I'm gonna like hit the spacebar wrong or screw it because you have a lot of things you have to jump down and go through enemies. I'm like, if I can get by like 2 spots, like I know there's a couple places I do get off and walk to like transfer. I'm not one of those that like esoteric where he's like, I'm never getting off. No, there's a couple places I get off for 2 crucial transitions, but everything else, like it's almost easier to drive and get by everything. So if I can manage the 2 spots, I was like, all right, so we're going through. And I get there, and then I finally get to the boss room. I'm like, all right, we're here again. There is one room because it's a tetrahedron. Technically, if you're gonna get, that's what all of them are. There's 4 sides to it. So you have the base one you start, and you have 3 sides that you could go between. And it's the one with the blue like triangle that you can fall into, like the floor. If you look up, it looks like a blue triangle. And that's the one I hate the most. The way the room is organized, they just don't seem to find a good place. And it's always, every time you enter one of those rooms, it's absolute
tough.
chaos because you got 3 on each side and you have to
On
use
each
like,
side.
which corner do I start in? I have to clear one quick. So no, to clear that thing, I waited for my super every time, took my bubble into
Nice.
one of those. I was just like,
Nice.
I switched over to 2 pieces of intellect gear and was just hanging out with
Smart.
chat, talking away and be like, all right.
He said, we're going to wait for
And I
this
was like,
super
we're
build up.
waiting. Okay. All right.
Nice.
So we're back. Switch the gear back. I am probably the stupid one who used Xenophage the entire way through, except the first boss I used sword. Everything else, I literally didn't take Xenophage off.
Nice.
My man, I love Xenophage. It is the best weapon in this expansion as far as I'm concerned.
So
And I
good.
use it all the time. And people were like, use Mountaintop, use this, use
I
that.
use that
and I am
too.
about to go back or not Mountaintop, Witherhoard, sorry.
Right.
I don't have a Mountaintop. I'm not one of the people who were committed enough to get that thing.
Oh, I bashed my head against that wall. That's for real.
Yeah, he did.
But Xenophage, I love it, and maybe I'll have to try it because it's so good.
It hits like a truck. It really does. And for high end content, I mean, having that now, it's and then with snipers getting nerfed, Izanagi kind of fell down. So You know, Xeno. And shout out to Screaming here. Shout out to Wilhelm Screaming. I'll never forget. That man dragged me. I did not want to get it because I was just like, remember when it first came out? It was horrible.
Trash when it started.
It was horrible.
That was trash.
So I was just like, and he's like, no, bro, we can get it real quick. And I'm like, all right. I went kicking and screaming, playing with him to get it. And then when I got it, and then like the very next week they buffed it, I'm like, oh my God, thank you, Scream. I'm glad I did. This thing is amazing.
That's some of the things I wonder though, and I guess that's where we talk about like the Xbox and what that does for the future or anything like that. When it comes to like some of the testing we've had throughout this year between lots of error codes, Xenophage needing a 50% buff in PvE, like are you kidding? Like how do you whiff the target that it'll be totally fine. We got to buff it by how much? We got to go 200%? Okay, cool. How'd you miss that far? But now it is good and it can put out some. I wish it had like 5 more bullets.
Yeah, you just want a little bit more?
Yeah, if I put 2 reserves on him at 34. Now, granted, I'm using Actiumorig as the Titan, so it just does its own thing. It never stops.
Come on now. You got the nice setup.
But I will say, if you could do double reserves and it was 39, you had 3 full clips. You can't get 3 full clips. You barely get like 2.5 right now.
That's
I know it's like
done
it's
for
low, but
balance
it's just
purposes.
it's so the reload is so slow without something like Actiumorig. I feel like it would justify a few more bullets in there. That's
purposely done, bro. They knew what they were doing. The thing hits like a truck.
It would be really powerful if it had anything else in its favor.
Yes,
and I know it does.
Yes, one thing about Bungie, they do not like us standing still and unloading on bosses.
I can tell you, I didn't stand still in that boss room for except tiny little parts.
Facts.
But yeah,
trust me, I feel you.
That was. I will say of the 3 dungeons we've had,
all 3. You've done solo 3. Woo!
Prophecy is the hardest.
Wow.
I will say
have to do the other 2.
So I'd said it before, like so for the solos on the other 2, you had Shattered Throne, Pit of Heresy, pretty equal in the way the encounters were. You had like the 2 mazes up front, like go through different directions and figure out which order to do stuff. You have kind of like a traversal section. You have a pain in the butt, like kind of chaotic section, a little bit more traversal, and a boss. And that was like almost kind of what it was going to be. This thing flipped the crap out of like so many different pieces to it in very cool ways. First, they added the mechanic of the light and the dark. So you actually had to be more aware of what you were doing, just like where your feet were standing. And if you were standing long enough to see your screen switch over. And then it even just starts out with the rotating rings. Like as those move, the light in the platform moves and you're like, well, crap, I can't shoot dark back here now. I've got to actually switch my positions. And then just as you go through the cube rooms, you like teleport up and come out another side, and they're always using just the perspective in here. It's like I'm so curious to see what this developer, if they can give some like story, narrative, understanding of what the hell this place is in reference to the 9, what the prophecy is of, what is all these different things we're doing, how like it's a really interesting design, but it's definitely harder as well. And then the boss room. Just to solo, that whole thing is crazy. At some point, I do want to try and work on like a solo like build where it's like it's not Xenophage, it's not Mountaintop. Now the goofy thing, I will tell you guys, one time I went through and I finished the first encounter, the circular salt and pepper section. I did that with Mountaintop, Truth Teller, and a sword. That was it. I finished it with just those 3. On accident, because I was trying to be like, somebody was like, well, what if I don't have Mountaintop? So I was like, I switched. I put my grenade launcher down there and I had another auto rifle. And then I went to go put Mountaintop back on when I started again afterwards. But I left Truth Teller. I was like, let's see if it happens. And I did it. I was like, all right.
Well, there you go.
I was like, so apparently it's doable in weird setups. So like there are ways, but I think the force of having to be active in many more places makes the solo flawless harder, because the Chamber of Suffering, you have to be active, but you can slow down even the ogre fight. You can slow down more than Chamber of Suffering, but Chamber of Suffering is in Prophecy, like the intensity and continual movement in like 3 different places in Prophecy. So it's they just cranked it up. So I'm very, very curious about this.
I'm very curious about this. And, you know, you love when you get these treats from Bungie, from a developer deep dive, the thought process behind things. And, you know, I wanted to ask Moon this. One thing that really struck me with Prophecy was how aesthetically like it looked.
Okay.
Oh, get it. She's
Again.
ready.
Oh, we opened it. Go for
You
it.
did the can of worms. It's out there.
Let's go.
But oh my god, my audio! I'm so excited right now.
Nah, you're good.
But I hate to be like, I know people at Bungie. I know people.
Don't talk your talk,
I am friends.
girl.
I am really good friends with somebody who works. I don't know a lot of people really well, but there is a man named Adam Pino who
Peter.
We
works
met him
on the
at
sandbox.
Con. He's
Yeah,
an
he's
awesome
Awesome
guy.
guy.
awesome dude, super generous. Like he gave me my tour of Bungie when I was there last year. And
That's a dream moment for
I am
us.
so grateful for this. I'm not out here just to flex about it. I'm telling you, I am so just like,
She's
I
flexing.
still can't believe it because I am so thankful. But he was like, knowing you and knowing how much you loved the 9 space, because I love unknown space. I love I will sit in Reckoning forever just to look at it.
So good.
And he's like, knowing that and knowing that you like the Elixni, it was impossible. It felt impossible to not tell you about it. And I was like, ugh. So I feel like that tells you what you need to know, is that this aesthetically, this is the dungeon for me. It's got the Tron vibes. It's got, the cube room. It's got the MC Escher sort of art vibe going on. It's so, and you have like the Zen garden sort of just kind of blank space, meditative feeling to a lot of the areas. And it's beautiful. It's aesthetically, it's one of the best things that's been in Destiny 2, in my opinion.
I agree. And shout out to your Reckoning reference too, because I do love that. It really is cool, and it's just something about that art style and the triangles and little flags, and it's something about it. We got a shot again. I'm always going to salute the audio team. When you drop down in Reckoning and the beat hit, that beat hit different. Woo!
When where?
You know where that and the bass hit.
Which section? Sorry, you cut out.
Reckoning.
Reckoning,
As soon as you
gotcha.
drop down in Reckoning, you drop down in the hole, you put your mode in, and the beat hit. That it's tough. I like that Reckoning, that track. You know what I mean? So for me, with Prophecy, it gave me a little more of that vibe, war in this universe, very, curious as to what's going on, the testing of the 9, lore-wise, all this stuff is cool, and I loved it.
It's so cool because I think what's really, really wonderful about the 9 space is it's emblematic of what video games can do with visual storytelling, because, this isn't just a planet with foliage and stuff. It's something that feels so out there and so unreal and different because this is a medium that allows for that, and that's what makes it really special to me.
Right.
Well, yeah, you take even a lot of places, even somewhere like Venus, you have, different colored rain and different covered lava, and like Mars is like, we gotta have an aspect, and you see something like this and it feels truly alien. Kind of the only other thing that has hit me that way is when we went on the pyramid ship for the first time. The architecture and the feel in there felt so, I mean, yeah, you had a statuesque figure, but like the architecture and the feel felt alien. The 9 feels the farthest for sure.
Yes.
Which is so cool.
Yeah, the 9 are this incomprehensible, omnipotent, unfathomable entity. Even more so now than the darkness, because now we kind of have a little bit better sense of what the darkness is and what it represents. But the 9 are just this concept that's, in a dimension that's not even our own. It's so out there, and that is
picture them as like the Guardians of the Galaxy, like Cosmics, and 2, like. Chris Pratt's dad, like Kurt Russell's character, just somewhere like something so far removed that we can't even fathom what they are.
Yeah, the Celestials and stuff like
Celestial,
that.
that's the word I was looking for.
Yeah, I grew up on that. Like, I'm a big Silver Surfer fan in Marvel Comics, and like I remember reading that book as a kid. I'm like, this is real deep for some of my age. It's out there, you know what I'm saying? But again, those type of omnipotent entities, right? And the 9 just have seemed to be always on the fringe in the background, whether it be observing, testing, whatever they're doing with us. So it's going to be interesting to see how they cue all this in connection with the darkness. There's so many story threads that they can go, and I'm very curious to see where they go with it. But it's always good to get some lore, any little bit dealing with them. It's always very
right. And I always love, I often talk about a series I want to make for our YouTube channel where I talk about like occult and metaphysical symbology in Destiny, because there is so much that underpins the narrative like that. Like you get into just your basic like mythology, your Norse mythology with the Iron Lords. You talk about your Greek mythology with the Vex and like
talk about that Egyptian mythology
with Osiris and stuff like that, and what that all represents and what that means. And the 9 aren't separate from this. They represent a lot of concepts that are present in esotericism, and that is something I love and something I've been around for my whole life. So I would love to get a chance to talk about that in a way eventually that I can structure correctly.
I see why Destiny hits you on all these different levels.
Like
it's making complete sense based on your history why this game captivates you. It makes complete sense now.
It just makes sense for me.
All I can say is I'm hoping the game gets a long enough life for them to tell like so many more stories. Tell all these stories that we want to know about, to understand like, will we ever actually get to even meet the 9, have any kind of interaction with them? How far are we going to get with the light and the dark and all this stuff coming in? As you said, all the different correlations between, as you said, the Egyptian, you've got like the Anubis helmet and stuff that they tie between. So many cool things that they do.
Right. And Crystal in your chat mentioned the Reckoning Tarot cards as a specific example of this. And I read tarot. I do that in my free time. So that was very special to me.
Oh, we got a question for you. What's your favorite D&D class?
Oh, my favorite D&D class. I'm a druid through and through. I think that probably may make sense to people.
I was gonna say, for the animal, yes, the animal skulls and the druid,
yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
If you played World of Warcraft, there's one with your name on it, so you were good.
Well, there you go.
Yep.
5 out of 5. I'm gonna follow Moonvald right now.
Oh,
Follow
thank you.
No, she's fantastic.
Awesome.
So yeah, that will be Tuesday, 10 a.m. Basically at reset. They're doing the deep dive for the prophecy dungeon. So
can't wait.
I will be eyes glued to
this is so
any Tuesday. I spent so much time in there. I've loved all the dungeons because I got a chance to talk to Eve Campbell about Shattered Throne. She's the one who like helped design that thing, and when you're talking at the beginning, and I think she was the one that told me that was like where you start, you're looking up to the end. And the first time I went back in when I got home, and I was like, holy crap, you can. And then it was like, then I noticed in Pit of Heresy, you look down and you can see where and so I'm like, what? So it's like, they couldn't do it in here because we kept warping everywhere. So I did like, just the dungeons are some of my favorite pieces because raiding is cool. I've always enjoyed the raiding part, but I just haven't had as much of a group to raid as much recently. I've had some more people help me, which has actually been making it a lot of fun. But the dungeons, just some challenging thing I can get into, and you have like, just the way it's all built. The dungeons are my favorite.
I ain't gonna lie, like, not to cut you just real quick. I always get excited when a dungeon's announced because I know how you're gonna get it. Because I'm like, when he heard about prophecy, because let's be real, we didn't think we were gonna get one, right? Necessarily.
Well, my worry now is we got one now that we're not gonna get one with Beyond Light. I worry we're not gonna get like a Beyond Light dungeon. I'm like,
yeah,
it's the perfect PvE content, in my opinion, because it's just between like a strike and a raid, right? Yes. It's the middle ground between those two. It's accessible, but it's challenging. It's doable.
Yes.
With a smaller team, you don't have to coordinate as much, but it's still so interesting.
Very
and
much
it presents a new mechanic, which again, I wish Bungie would do that more and more things.
Oh, I know.
So you get to experience that.
Look, I'm always going to be a raid guy, but I have to say dungeons are one of the coolest additions to the game. And it's always a treat. It's always a treat to see them add that stuff. Go ahead, E, you was about to say something.
Oh, I don't even know now. I blanked. Wasn't that important?
Sorry, my bad. I just in your dungeon bag. My bad for interrupting.
Oh, no. Yeah. But yeah, I'm just kind of very curious to hear about, but yeah, the dungeons for me, and that's what it was. I was going to say, and Dakota reminded me as well. It's like when I took my brother through, we can 2-minute work through. And that was when I actually got my flawless run through. Was by accident with him. It wasn't the solo flawless, but because I was like helping him and I was rezzing him, and I didn't even realize. And then my chat will occasionally like make me do like sit-ups or push-ups. Like, all right, do that. Flew back to tower, and then all of a sudden I check. I'm like, oh, I got a triumph. What is this? I'm like, wait.
He's like,
what?
oh.
And I did the flawless on accident in there, and I was like, but I got to like experience that one with my brother and stuff. So it's been
He's
some cool
stuck.
stuff like that
He
I've
is
been.
stuck. The darkness has him. He's back. Okay, there he is.
Yeah, I
He was
saw
stuck.
I saw the Twitch drop for a second. Sorry, I
Okay.
couldn't help
we
it.
got?
But yeah, just the fact that I got to take my brother through, and it's just he and I can play stuff like that, and it's harder for a raid because there's 4 other people going
So
on,
many
and we're just
people.
kind of like making sure we do our pieces. But my brother and I can play through, and it's not a strike. Like we've done enough strikes. We get them. They're short. They're kind of. This is like it's a cool encounter for both of us. It's the right size, as you said.
Mhm.
Speaking of raids, shout out to Scarrow, you, and got my Garden of Salvation jacket,
Yeah, I
baby.
saw that.
Nice.
Looking like the Top Gun out here. Oh, I love this jacket. That jacket's amazing. Oh my god, great! My first one. I'm so happy.
Well, and then I saw Moon got a book in the mail that I'm actually very intrigued to get.
Oh God. Oh my God. Okay. I feel like this is just Moon is like
Uh-huh.
a teacher's pet situation with Bungie because I've been hyping up. They sent me the cookbook.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And I almost cried when I got it because
flex.
it was something I really wanted anyway. Like it was something I was like, I'm gonna pre-order this the minute I can. I'm gonna, I'm gonna get it when it's out as soon as I possibly can because that sort of thing is really interesting to me. And getting to explore the franchise, the Destiny franchise, through other mediums besides actually playing the game. How fucking cool is that? But anyway, so I got this little book in the mail and I like looked at it and I was like, oh, that's so nice.
That's awesome.
And it felt so good and it was
That's
just
awesome.
wonderful.
Salute.
Mhm.
All the
there's-
chefs out there.
Oh yeah. Anybody
Have
who
you-
likes cooking, if you like cooking, you like Destiny, get this
Right
book
here.
because
Yeah, this guy.
there is a variety of different recipes in there, and there's something in there for everyone. I think after looking through it, I am definitely going to make some myself very soon. Here, there's cocktails.
Yeah, I saw there's cocktails
Really?
in there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
There's. I'll share one with you. There is. It's based on Izanagi's Burden, and it is like a sake cocktail.
Oh man.
I think it has mint in it. It just sounds so good. But yeah, there's
Wait.
ramen.
Crystal's asking if there's ramen. Is there?
So they're
There's
all
a spicy
Destiny
ramen
themed?
recipe.
Oh, there has
It's
to
like
be.
really
That's so
involved. Like you make,
Mm-hmm.
your broth that takes days to. It's so involved. And like the way this book goes into the lore and like plays with the game
Oh, now I have
as
to
a
get it.
story
that's cool.
is so cool. A lot of the pages, there's like a lot of little things in it that are written from Eva Levante's perspective. Like it's kind of
Stop.
like
That's
she went
dope.
around
She's always got
collecting
the oven.
recipes
Yep.
and made this book, right? And that's super cool. And like there's recipes in there that are kind of Middle Eastern flavored, which they talk about being in the tower, and a lot of people speculate the tower is, like people that live in the tower are part of that culture, and it's such a deep dive into Destiny's story.
Cool.
It's 100% worth getting.
Nice.
For
Well,
sure.
I
Cool.
looked currently unavailable. I put my name on the mailing list. I'll have to wait till it comes
I'm
back out.
surprised.
But
It's perfect. I thought you was day one with that.
I didn't even know it was coming that much, and then I saw it drop, and then I just wasn't quite as on top of my game.
Yeah,
should have been. So I can do an
what
Ebontis
happened with
cooking
that?
video. So I'll work on
That's
that.
so
Oh,
you.
do
I'm
it.
like,
I know.
you could
I know.
literally do a channel for that. Like this, boom. This man is a beast behind the.
Right?
You
You
he
and
gets busy.
Swain Stash should talk. Ebontis.
He is beyond me, believe me. I know who you're talking about. I actually saw his video over knives and stuff. I like to cook. I do a pretty decent job when I make some stuff.
Yes.
But now he's a chef. Like I'm a home cook. He's a chef. Like
I
there's
think
a different
he would love that.
classification.
Swain, one of the things I really love about Swain Stash is that he is passionate about things and loves being around other people who share that same passion, regardless of what your perceived
Yeah.
skill is, right?
Yeah.
If you're excited about it, and you want to talk. If you went to Swain and were like, "Let's talk about food," that conversation could possibly never end. Like
Oh,
you
I
could
believe
have that
that.
as long as you stretched it out because he just
dope.
loves food and he loves cooking, and it's really cool. So.
That's dope.
But yeah, shout out to Swain Stash.
Oh,
Go
to
follow him
Swain.
if you like.
Close-
If you
follow
guys don't
Swain.
know him,
Food porn.
definitely.
Salute.
Got this little
That's
video
what's
about a
up.
chef's knife, and I'm like, "Yep, got one of those."
That's so
Please, for the love of
cool.
God, make sure your knives are sharp. That's all I'm going to say on that. A dull knife is a dangerous thing.
Bro, you would you would have a dope channel doing that, bro. Like
Do
you add
it.
that in, like that would be
Well, I was
dope.
doing like so when we were all in. So I teach. So I'm like a fitness kickboxing instructor, but I still like food, which is a problem. That's why I'm not as That's why I'm not as thin as I should be.
I hike all the time, and I'm chunky, so I get it.
But
Just
so I was like,
that's all.
but like during all the quarantine stuff, like part of what we're doing is like for our members at our studios is trying to give them some content. So part of what I did is like cooking videos, and there's like a couple that I did for. I think I put 1 or 2 up on my channel. I think Dakota actually made one of them. They were like one was a healthier recipe and stuff like that. But like the setup for cooking videos is a whole different animal for like real life proper audio. I have like a cheap lapel mic that I got my wife so she could try and make a yoga video. But I was like,
Nice.
I ended up using that. Crystal, don't you start.
Crystal starting.
So it's like the cooking, like to do cooking stuff. And again, I hate making half-ass things.
Yeah.
Right, I get it.
I was like, so I would want like the DSLR camera set up with like a proper like microphone, recorded separate audio. And I'm like, it's so much more of a production than just this like amateur thing.
Right.
Yeah, the quinoa one is what she made.
And then you have to have like your cooking tech accessible too.
Yeah.
While you're filming,
Oh,
while
it
you
was
have
so
lights
much
on.
set out beforehand. I'm like, all right, ingredients all measured here. Everything's perfect. Okay. And then I went through the explanation of why I use these things. And then I'm like, this is such trash. I ended up uploading it. Dakota made it. I was like, it was fine, but I was like, my production quality was so low, especially because I've watched. I mean, the Bon Appetit Test Kitchen and like all those. I was like
I know, comparing yourself to that, it's like, how could I ever
He's so
think?
hard on himself, though. Like, he's just like being ridiculous. Like, come on, you got to start. Everyone starts something.
I think you should. I still think you should do it.
That is a
But I
passion.
agree with you because like I fall into the same like trappings
what is,
of I can't.
What is? I'm trying to remember because I think Nims even mentioned her too, and I'm trying to remember the name. It's she's got like the rogue hair for Bon Appetit, and she does the gourmet makes. Claire, yes.
Claire Saffitz.
Yep, Claire Saffitz. Shout out to Claire. If I could ever meet her, she'd school me in everything. She seems so cool. But she'll do gourmet makes, and it's like how to make a Cheeto or how to make a Pop-Tart, and she'll make a gourmet kitchens version of like basic. She's made like Reese's cups and just like things that you picture, but it's a gourmet version. Man, it's just like watching her go through breaking all that stuff down. Their kitchen is amazing, but just all that stuff is so cool.
No doubt. Well, Dakota said it was fine what she did. She was about that.
Yeah.
Salute to Dakota. Uh-oh.
Yeah, apparently I'm gonna let you guys talk for a little bit.
The chat
So,
done redeemed. Oh man.
so if you wanna keep the conversation or wrap it up,
keep the
Cognito,
conversation
I will.
going and get a little play by play. So, Moon, as we do here at the last one at the campfire, we were very promoting fitness here. You know, we definitely we got sit-ups, we got 10 sit-ups, sir. Get to it. So, you know, we like to promote healthy mind, healthy body, because that's what the Guardian needs. Even watch it. Look at the proper form right here. This is textbook Ebontis right here. Look at the proper form. The elbows tucked, the knees hidden. This is what you want to do. This to really go against this COVID stagnation. You need to be
Gotta
doing
stay
these
active.
Exactly. You gotta stay. And this was what we provide. E provides this. Crystal, you're evil. Yeah, Davide, they got a ton of points, Moon. They got
We
a ton.
often say this on Planet Destiny, but this is why you need to watch the live show.
This is why you gotta watch the show. And here we go. I mean, look at the push-up form. Elbows out. We're getting the outside grip. We're not doing this working
I
the
can't
outer
do a
chest.
push-up like that. I'm made of
We're working
noodles.
the outer chest. Power move right there. E providing a lot of motivation today during these troubled times of no gyms. And a dab. My man Ebontis. Look what you get here at the last word. Bravo, sir.
Awesome. Good shit.
I don't even know what you just said. I
We
never do.
shoutcasted.
I'll play it back later.
Yeah.
The chat is impressed. You got a lot of woos. So, Mr. Cat, I got to give that play-by-play. Come on, Mr. Cat, you know what I do.
Yeah, sadly I do.
Salute to E for being a sport, and salute to the chat for being Crystal for being pure evil. I saw that.
He had it coming too.
Yeah.
He's like, I got some points to use. I was like, oh god.
Good thing you rose the points up a little bit because they were getting abusive before.
Yeah, I bumped the levels up. I was like, you guys are
I saw
they're
that.
way too liberal handing out these exercises. All right, these get more expensive now. You guys got to
There you
save
go.
up.
Listen, the price of the fitness instruction has gone up, y'all. You got to take a fit. This man does this professionally, and he does it here on the podcast. But salute. But yeah, it was cool. It was cool to see that the cookbook stuff and just to see them kind of get into that realm. I love what you're saying, Moon, about the theme, and you get a little.
Yeah, now I want it even more.
Now,
it's not just like,
man,
here's
I
a
missed out
recipe.
on it.
It's
Like it's so
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, it's so
Mhm.
much more than just a cookbook, in my
Yeah.
opinion. And that's, I had a feeling it was going to be, and it definitely delivers.
Absolutely.
You,
It's
need
a
to do
thing
like
that
a
you should have.
an audio recording of like one of the recipes and the lore that goes with it. Just do that as like one of your videos out there. It'd be
Mhm.
perfect.
That would be
Mhm.
super cool.
Well, you got the right voice for it, so
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you.
you do. They were actually saying it earlier in chat.
Yeah.
Just very much enjoying your voice. It's very soothing.
Yes, very
Very
much so.
good.
That's radio.
That makes me happy to hear. I think it's
Mhm.
one of my better like talents or useful assets. So
That's dope. That's dope. What you got?
Yeah, I was gonna. Well, I'm coming back, so I'm good.
Very cool.
No, that's most of it. So obviously, Beyond Light, we know it's far away, but we know it'll be part of Xbox Game Pass. We'll wait to see what PlayStation says, which
Mhm.
rumors are that may be coming up not that far away. We'll see. But yeah, that's most of what's going on this week is
Yeah.
just breaking down that trailer frame by frame.
Yep. I love that the beavers are being handled. So salute
That's
to the
true.
beavers.
Yeah, I will say I don't.
did you read the thread about that?
Mm-mm.
No, is there a new
That
thread?
came out?
Some-
Let me see really quick.
Oh, educate.
Yes.
So somebody who actually worked on the network program.
Oh, I like to hear this. Let's hear this.
Made a whole thread about it. It's a bunch of technical stuff that I completely do not understand. But if you want to read more about it,
Yes.
his name is Fletcher Dunn. He goes, his @on Twitter is ZPostFacto, all one word.
We're
at
definitely going to be
Z
reading that. I'm
Post
very
Facto.
curious.
fine.
But he talks about just the engineering that went into it and stuff. It's
Software
very,
de-
very interesting,
Software
especially if you're into
developer at
that.
Valve.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, because the main issue was brief overview, not as much detail. Was the idea is like there were different servers that were touching, and it was like so you had Chicago and Virginia, which is Central and East Coast, and that's where a lot of the beavers were happening. And apparently the issue was like if you touched both of those servers, it would drop a packet and would basically send you that error. So that was the major issue. If it happened to touch two of those in its pathing, that was I think like briefly what I caught at one point, and I'm sure there's much more detail in it, but it was just it's really weird that they tracked that down as a thing for a lot of beaver errors. It's so crazy.
Yeah, I'm
It's
looking on his
fascinating.
timeline. You may have to send me the link directly. It's just a thread that he was talking in. Okay. Oh, yeah, there it is. I see it now. Yep. July 23rd. In reference to the code, like the bug. Oh, he goes in. He goes really in. Yeah, this is definitely beyond my pay grade.
Yeah, me too. But like, if
Yeah.
you're into IT in any
Which
capacity,
I am, but
Yeah.
I'm more on the cloud side, infrastructure
Oh,
side.
gotcha.
He's
Gotcha.
definitely a network engineer. But yeah, background for the past few months, Destiny has been using some Steam peer-to-peer networking tech that he's been working on. Oh, he goes in. Oh, I'm going to clip this thread. What I'll do, chat, because it is very, salute the Moon for letting me know about this. This is really cool. I'll put the thread in the chat for you guys. That's the thread where he seems to start it off. And I'll send that to you too internally. So you have it. But I'm a geek, IT geek for this type of stuff. So I really want to know
Super.
because I've
neat to
always
hear.
told people, people would give me crap because I was like, look, man, this thing was more stable when it was at, BlizzNet.
Well,
like,
they built it around that probably.
right. So
Yep.
I just needed to know as soon as it went to Steam, why are the animals coming out the woodwork? Why am I like, what's going on with the beavers
Yeah.
and centipedes and everything was like, it was crazy. It would get to the point, it was so bad. I literally would get scared going into the tower because it would take seconds and I'd get bumped right out. And it was
Mhm.
happening consistently. It was frustrating. So yeah, I'm definitely going to check that out. Salute the Moon for that because that's cool stuff to see. I always like to see how
Mm.
the developers work around stuff like that and what the actual root and cause of the problems were. So dope stuff.
Nice.
Mhm.
So yeah, less dam building throughout our game is a good thing. I love how they titled it "Dam Beavers," so fitting,
Dam
of course.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, your Twitch Prime rewards will continue, so make sure you don't forget about those.
Yeah.
Mostly ornaments and such. A couple exotics that are very, very old.
Mm-hmm.
But all in all, that pretty much covers the week. We're in this weird limbo. Limbo's the wrong word. We have a season that got extended by a lot. So we're going to have a lot more time for, we said this before, to where it's how are they going to space out the evacuation of the planets? How are we going to wrap up if there's a live event at the end of the season? How are the planets going to go away? But I feel like anything that was potentially planned to happen is now so much farther away. We've got this now big lagging window of what's going to fill it. And we know we've got, Solstice of Heroes probably going to the EAZ. We don't know, but maybe. Mm-hmm. And then now we've got the Halloween event, which I have very low expectations for.
Makes me sad because Festival of the Lost is another one of those aesthetic things that I think has so much potential.
They do a great job in the tower when they decorate those things. But yeah, the activity itself is like I've gone through they changed up. It was like waves versus did you get enough to get the 5 bosses? And I don't expect any drastic changes this time, especially as their big focus will be Beyond Light. It's just we have so much more time to do a season's worth of stuff. And then we only even have
seals. Work on your longer game.
Conqueror is going to be the one to go for it. I will say Conqueror right now, for one, shout out to Esoteric. He soloed the Corrupted Grandmaster, and he said it's the hardest one he's ever had to do.
Jesus.
Oh, gosh. Even on the regular Nightfall, that strike is hell. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he said that one took him about 25 hours of work. And for him, he's like, I'm done. He did it once, and that's the longest he's ever had. And I'm just like, more power to you, man. You are a godlike above pretty much all the rest of us.
He's an exo. He's not a human being. I'm at the point now. The level of amazing things.
Exoteric.
Yeah, exoteric. Perfect. I like that. That's literally him. Exo. He's not. That's an android. That's something else going on there. The level of amazement things that he does is just like wow.
But I will still say, if you are going to work on your Conqueror title, still try it this season, even if the strikes got a little harder, because sunsetting is coming in Beyond Light. And if the Conqueror keeps being a thing, your arsenal's about to get a whole lot smaller. So you may as well take advantage of at least all your tools right now, is all I can say. So you've got, and that's again, like they did all 6 before, and then they opened up so you could do all 6 in the same week for the last couple of weeks. Are they going to go same thing and we just have like 9 weeks to work on all of them? Or are they going to do 2 rotations? I'm wondering how some of this stuff is going to play out.
Yeah, I mean it is interesting, right? Because they had to delay, which we have to assume prior to that, they had a set cadence, right, each week for what they wanted to do with with this season leading into Beyond Light. So it is going to be interesting how they play the adjustment period by stretching it out those extra weeks. So I am curious to see what happens, and we'll see. We'll see. The cool thing, if you got other games like
Ghost of Tsushima.
Backlog, Ghost of Tsushima, and
people are really enjoying Ghost right now.
Oh my god, so good. Me and you going to definitely talk about that.
Yeah, shout out by the way if you guys are listening to this. Look forward at some point a last word. Who knows what we're going to call that one? But it's we have both been playing way too much of Ghost of Tsushima, and we're definitely going to be talking about that one at some point.
It'll be a Tsushima edition, campfire, ninjas, cheetah style. You know what I'm saying? So we'll do that. But no, I mean, it's going to be one of the time. I mean, in their defense, we got to see. They may have some stuff cooking up that we just don't know about. But I will say, boy, I'm not necessarily thrilled about, Festival of the Lost. And, these activities don't, get me jumping for joy that I'm going to be doing. But, we understand the situation they're in. And, we definitely, at the end of the day, we want Beyond Light to be great. Right? So if they need the time, take the time you need, get it done. Right. If you got, like you said it perfectly, right? If there's things that you need done, get your raids done, get your seals, get all the hardcore stuff you can done, and prep. What I've been doing is, I've been going through the vault, looking at my sunset weapons, getting rid of stuff that I need to getting rid of the reprise versions of things. So I'm ready.
The reissues of the same thing. That's a whole different topic.
So I'm ready, and just having the archetypes and stuff like that. So I'm definitely. Oh, shout out to Chris. Chris was like, "Yo, if we went to do the Sushi podcast, he's got that Japanese law. We may need him for that."
Yeah, seriously.
But yeah, that's it. That's what I'm saying. Get things done, y'all. Get things done, and so you're prepped and you're ready to go for the new content. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's most of what we got for the week. We can wrap it up. I know we're right at about 2 hours there for Moon, so we got to let you get back to your world as well. But I want to let you. We could probably talk about some of this stuff all night, especially if it's cooking and food and cookbooks and stuff.
I could go forever.
If we get the right topics, we'll open you up. But I want you to let them know where they can find you if you got any cool projects coming up for you, Planet Destiny, where they can find you, where they can support you. Definitely check out her Patreon. So tell them everything. The floor is yours. Where's the best place to get all your stuff? Everything. Go.
Yeah, Twitter is probably the best place to find me, at Moonvald. A lot of my personal projects are kind of in limbo right now, my Patreons, and just I am not doing a lot with that. Normally there I read narrative fiction and poetry out loud, and I mail people letters and make little handmade things for people. But that will be coming back soon. If anything I do interests you, that helps support me a lot. I'm going to start streaming on Twitch probably at the end of summer. Just nice. Moonvald everywhere pretty much. So
I got 2 of them on screen if you can't see them, but yeah, definitely follow everywhere that you can.
But yeah.
Salute to Moon for coming through.
Thank you so much for having me. This is an excellent discussion. I had a lot of fun.
Awesome.
That means a lot to us. That really does.
Thank you very much from a fellow producer of many things. Yes, it definitely means a lot to us. Thank you. Well, Sir Cognito of the ILP, what you got cooking? I'm sure you got nothing happening this week and nothing to talk about.
Nothing to talk about.
It's going to be like a 4-hour podcast for you guys. I can only imagine.
No, we're working on cutting that down. We get too long. So shout out to Moon again. But you already know at Lord Cognito on Twitter, Iron Law Podcast on YouTube and Twitch. Sorry, Mixer, you don't exist anymore, so we don't stream to you anymore.
Forgot that was officially this week. I saw that tweet. Somebody's like, sad face.
Rest in peace. Salute to the Mixer Lords that rolled with us, but you're going to have to come over to Twitch and YouTube now. And it will be a fun show. We're going to have Rand Al Thor, one of big member in the Xbox community. He's going to be doing like an aftermath show. Hopefully, I don't want to jinx it, but hopefully we can get 2 special guests, one on the legal side and possibly one on the journalistic side in gaming. And if it happens, it happens, but I can confirm Rand will be there. And Rand is awesome. He runs the Xbox too. He's a great guy. So yeah, we're going to be doing the aftermath of the most likely the Xbox conference, thoughts, feels, all that good stuff, and maybe talk about, I think Spider-Man 4K 60 might be a hot topic right now too. So for the Miles Morales DLC. So tune in Sundays, 1 p.m. Eastern, again, on the Iron Lords Podcast YouTube channel. And again, everybody, thanks to the support for lordsofgaming.net. I really appreciate it. You guys retweet the articles. You send a lot of love. Even when you disagree with us, we love it. We love the interaction. So salute to y'all, man. Salute to the writing team, everybody. And of course, my brother, King David, if you are into statues, these artistic pieces, please watch King of the Statues, and it's on Iron Lord Podcast. It's a playlist for it. He's got great stuff up. He's got an amazing Miles Morales statue. If you're into Marvel Comics, DC Comics, he's got these iconic statues. They're expensive as hell, but they look beautiful. So if you're into that kind of stuff, please watch him. He's so passionate. He even gives you a synopsis of the character and stuff like that. And he did the evil thing. I've been resisted to buying, and he got me to buy my first one. I feel so good. It was an impulse buy, but I had to do it because it was one of my favorite
bought a statue?
Yeah, I can't spoil it now because we plan on doing something special together.
Nice.
With it on his little thing.
Oh, that's gonna be so cute.
Yeah, I know. We got to do it with fam because he's like, I got to be on that show. You got to do it with me. Your first one, it's like your baby. I'm like, all right. So yeah, salute the King, man. He's really killing it. King David is absolutely amazing. Please follow that. And like I said, salute the Moon. She's awesome. I'm bonding. Like, she's awesome. We can talk all day.
Thank you so much.
She's awesome. So salute to that.
For me,
besides soloing dungeons in your spare time, what else you doing, sir?
I've been playing a lot of Ghost of Tsushima, so you guys have been seeing the streams for that one. It is fantastic. The Samurai. I can't put that game down. I wanted to get the flawless, solo flawless done so I could play that. So I'm happy it didn't take me all week to do. So I will be streaming that a lot. I will potentially be working on Conquer at some point. But also potentially tomorrow, I actually got invited on another podcast. It's with James Work, so it's their kind of Saturday warm up. And it's on towards their Sunday potential Guardian Royale. So what I need from all of you that listen to this thing is tomorrow. It is 5 p.m. Central Time. I'll link it, so if you follow me, I'll tell you guys where I'm going to be. but it's all based on like votes. So the more votes you have in chat for you, the quicker you move like forward in the rooms and stuff. And then if you get enough votes towards the end, you get to be on the Sunday show, which is Guardian Royale. So
wait a minute, break that down. Like, so I gotta come.
So,
if
like,
I tune in, how does this work? I vote for you.
Yeah, tune in. You'll like vote for me, and they'll like pull me in for the quick interview first, and that's kind of how they'll kind of bring everybody gets to go in. But then depending on, I guess, how everything goes, then you get voted in to be on like the Sunday show, which is like Guardian Royale.
I want in on that.
So
I would never get voted in, but I want in so bad.
Huh? It's like a
Competitive
2-day
podcast.
It's like a 2-day competitive podcast situation. Yeah,
It's
so
a battle royale
yeah,
podcast.
so I need some help from all of you guys. I need some love.
We
there.
should
I need the vote.
He should do like a podcast host edition. I could get some guys from PD on it. You
Oh,
could
I'm
be
sure.
on it. We could get the Rezo
That would be
cast guys on it. We
fire.
could get.
Oh man, yeah, you
We
could
could
line
get
them
maybe
up there.
even like the old Crucible Radio guys on it if
Oh,
anybody's
Salute the
interested
Crucible
anymore. We
Radio.
could, there's so many
Bones
people
and-
we
yeah.
could get. Yeah.
What? Oh, this is fire.
So yeah, so go. It's James Work. So it's James WRECK. No, WERK.
What's
James
the
Work.
format on the rounds? How long they have you with this?
I mean, like for me, from what like it's going to be a quick introduction, and you go over, and he'll do kind of a one-on-one with you once you get voted in, and they're moving everybody in there. And then for the Guardian Royale, that's a separate thing on another day. So that might be a Sunday thing, which is the following day's episode. And they'll just do like straw polls to see who gets moved and stuff like that.
That's
so
awesome.
we're gonna
That's
be.
awesome.
So that's me tomorrow. So I work in the morning, come home, do that at like 5. So my wife's like,
Dope.
bye. So I'm not going to see her very much, except for about breakfast. But
We got
outside
you.
of that, yeah. So follow me on Twitter. Stay tuned for that one. It will be Saturday, 5 p.m. Central-ish times when that'll be going on. So stay tuned. Watch me there. Send the love my way. Would appreciate it.
Oh, we got you, bro. We got you. Real quick, Crystal says that Le Monarch is going to definitely get a catalyst now because Luke said he would do it. Luke Smith said he would do it after 100 retweets. He said there's now 400 retweets for Le Monarch to get a catalyst.
I don't even know
Interesting.
I don't know what that could possibly do.
Yeah, that's a good bow. That's about one of my favorite bows.
That's a
to be
fun
honest.
bow. I mean, maybe
Yeah.
faster reload's just terrifying. I can't think of what you would do for that.
Yeah, what could
but
you do, right? What could you do?
If you hit
Oh,
the-
faster, longer draw time, maybe?
Yeah.
I don't
It's
know.
the best. I would agree Crystal was the best, but I can't front though. Trinity, ooh.
Trinity Gold right now is powerful.
Now with the
Yeah,
catalyst.
Did you finish
Can
Can
yours?
you imagine if Jotun
Nah, I
got
didn't
a
finish it. Yeah,
catalyst?
I'm still working.
It's getting a toaster, so I got to buy that. But
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be sick. Yeah, because I remember I was doing I got my outbreak perfected finally.
yeah, you did. I saw that. Congrats. I dropped the ball,
Finally.
but you got the help.
That's all
So.
good, bro. You was busy soloing dungeons. You on to bigger fish. You ain't got time to be dealing with me and this old content. No, but salute. Thank you, Crystal. That's dope, man. I would love to see that. I like them doing stuff like that because there's some exotics that really need some catalysts. So that's cool.
So yeah,
Mhm.
more Destiny stuff tomorrow with just
Yes.
so it's Robotic
Don't forget to
Katie.
retweet that. Yeah.
Yeah, Robotic Katie. She produces it, and James Works it's on his channel. So it's just a cool thing they do,
Great, talented people.
Yeah.
Wonderful, competent, awesome people.
Mm-hmm.
and it's all for
community.
charity too. So like as it's going on, the one that I was checking out previously, it was for just Make a Wish Foundation. So any donations are going all towards that as well. So it's a good cause and a good time. So definitely check that one out. And just 2 very awesome people. So both of those as well.
Mm-hmm.
But that's about all I got. So, Moon, when we wrap this thing up, I'm sure you've seen other people to try and do synchronized things over Discord, so it'll be fun.
Mhm.
But as we
Oh, yeah.
wrap it up, I'm going to just give the wrap, and then I'm going to leave this giant little pause, and you guys just say the last word, enjoy some editing. I'll smash it all together. But thank you guys for coming out. Once we wrap up the podcast, I'm going to at least have this channel raid somebody else, so stay tuned for that one. But for episode 113, I want to thank Moonvald again for being here. It is a fantastic time to finally have you in here, first off.
Oh, so good. That was such a good discussion. I'm very happy with.
Thank you. We appreciate that as well. So, yeah, July 24th, we are wrapping this thing up. Thank you guys. Stay tuned for the raid. And for this episode, it has been the last word.